Mahjong was a broke football analyst living a pathetic shut-in life until two lawyers brought him an inheritance worth billions. He thought he was finally rich, but the inheritance included a failing English football club with 150 billion won in debt. Now trapped, Mahjong had to use his tactical genius to save Bolton Wanderers or lose everything he had just gained. However, before any of this, at the Lowstraw Stadium, the second part of the match between Katbik and the Traffers begins, and during the first half, the Traffers players perform poorly, still struggling to keep up with the pace of the game. The Traffers coach grows more nervous by the minute, thinking that he can't afford to lose any more matches. In a hurry, he opens the Global Management app on his phone. This app is from the pro soccer community, and its real strength seems to depend on one special user known as Mad. A moment later, the coach receives a message from Mad saying that he has been watching the match closely, but the coach replies by asking if Mad can really turn the game around. Mad quickly replies that he can handle it and explains that Taylor is an amazing striker, but he has one big weakness: his dribbling skills are much weaker than his other abilities. To stop Taylor Jackson, Mad says they need two fast players who can block his solo runs before he reaches the goal. He also tells the coach that they must cut off two of the opponent's main passing routes if they want to change the game's flow quickly. After following his advice, the Traffers start moving more smoothly and their teamwork improves a lot. Soon after, they manage to score their first goal and end up winning the match, which completely surprises the coach and makes him wonder if this is really the same team that was playing so badly before. Meanwhile, someone suddenly knocks on Mad's door out of nowhere, and it scares him and makes him nervous because it turns out to be the lenders who come to his house to ask for their money back that he owes them. Mad quickly hides inside his house and stays quiet and waits silently until they go away and leave him alone for now. Even though he is known and recognized as the best analyst in the world of soccer, he still cannot afford to pay off the debts that his parents left behind for him to deal with after they passed away. Later that night after they leave, Mad goes out drinking with his friend at a bar and starts talking about how he still does not have a job even though he believes and thinks that he is the best analyst in the world. But Mad was not always like this. There was a time in the past when he had a dream to go to Europe and kept running toward that goal without giving up on it or stopping his efforts. His real name is Mahjong, and the coach calls him over to talk. The coach tells him that his grades have been going down lately and that if they lose one more match, the team will be pushed down to a lower league. Hearing that, Mahjong asks the coach if he'll do what he says in the future if he can make them win this next match. The next day, the final match between Gimhee and Jinju begins, and it looks like the Gimhee team is using direct passes to push forward and look for scoring chances. Luckily, the defender is ready and steps in just in time to block the attack by getting into position first. Meanwhile, Mahjong starts to feel really anxious because if things keep going like this, their team will be relegated to K4. He thinks about how the K3 league has a total number of clubs, and the bottom three are the ones that get pushed down. Since their team is currently in 15th place, they have to win this match no matter what to move back up to 13th place and stay safe. Mahjong then tells the coach to use one of the substitution cards, but another player from the team argues that Mahjong is just trying to waste the card for no reason. Mahjong tells the others to look carefully at the left and right wingers and explains that they're not playing like the classic winger style used by Gimhee. Instead, Gimhee places their opposite wingers closer to the side half, and when they break through, they keep attacking straight down the middle. Seeing this, Mahjong says that the lineup needs to switch to a 4-3 formation with a tougher center, warning that if they don't make this change immediately, the team will definitely be relegated. Hearing his words, one of the men gets upset and angrily asks if Mahjong thinks the coach is just one of his servants who must obey everything he says. Before the argument can escalate, the coach steps in and tells them to stop because the team owner has just arrived. Mahjong notices how scared and tense the coach looks, then goes over to Chung-ah and tells him that he'll have to go out and play in the second half. Just then, the same man from before interrupts again, arguing that Chung-ah just debuted and this is his first team, so he shouldn't be sent out so soon. However, Mahjong insists that the other players are too slow and that this is their only chance to turn the game around. The second half starts with Chung-ah stepping onto the field, and before long, he easily scores a goal that saves his team from relegation. After that, Mahjong tells the coach to get another substitution card ready because he plans to change the striker. He decides to send in Kim Ha-shik, who usually sits on the bench all the time, and the match goes on. Soon, the ball reaches Kim Ha-shik, and to everyone's surprise, he quickly scores a goal that shocks the entire stadium. But after the match ends, Mahjong notices that the coach and the other players don't even look his way, as if he isn't there. Later that night, Mahjong goes out to have dinner with his friend, who starts talking about a girl getting only half her salary for a silly reason. When Mahjong checks to see if he got his pay too, he becomes furious after realizing something isn't right. It turns out that the team's said bonus for winning is 400,000 won, and there's also an analysis bonus of 200,000 won for each session. Since they played a total of 4 games, including one during analysis, the full amount Mahjong should receive is 1.2 million won. However, when he checks his account, only 500,000 won has been deposited. Angry and confused, Mahjong rushes to the Jeonju FC Center, where he finds the coaches and owners having a party, eating beef and drinking after taking his money. Trying to stay calm, Mahjong tells the owner that there seems to be a problem with his salary this month, but one of the officials coldly tells him that if he has any complaints about the team, he needs to go through the proper procedures. Hearing that, Mahjong quickly eats all of their meat and tries to use physical violence, but then a guy enters and says that they have come to discuss the inheritance left by his grandfather. He then asks Mahjong if they can move somewhere quieter to talk about these important matters. Later, the two sit down together, and Mahjong starts to wonder what this man is really talking about, thinking that if he truly had some kind of inheritance, he wouldn't be stuck in such a miserable situation right now. The man then introduces himself as Sango, a lawyer working at a global law firm. After that, he introduces another lawyer named James Kim, who has come from the United Kingdom to handle the inheritance case, and explains that they are the executors of the estate of the late chairman Mao Suk. Hearing that name, Mahjong suddenly remembers that his grandmother used to mention it quite often, saying that his grandfather had left long ago with a British woman and moved to England. However, Mahjong still does not believe that his grandfather actually left an inheritance for him, so he asks the lawyer some questions about him. The lawyer then gives him the documents, and when Mahjong reads the name, address, and even the Chinese characters are all correct. Mahjong actually studied law when he was younger, so he decides to do a quick search to check things out. He looks up the lawyer's name online and finds out that the man is a well-known lawyer on the internet, which makes Mahjong start to believe that everything might be real. Curious, he asks the lawyer how much inheritance he's going to receive, and the lawyer says it will be at least 100 million won or maybe even more. But when the lawyer finally tells him that the amount is actually 3.8 billion won, Mahjong is completely shocked and can't believe what he's hearing. The lawyer then adds that the inheritance also includes a football club located in Horwich, Greater Manchester, England. Later that night, Mahjong talks to his friend and says that he'll just sell the team and live an easy, comfortable life from now on. After that, Mahjong talks about his past and explains that his father invested all their money and even took out loans, but in the end, he was scammed and lost everything. Because of that, his mother also ran away, leaving him to be raised by his grandmother. He thinks to himself that if he hadn't chosen to chase a football career and spent years wandering around, he could have been doing some proper, stable job by now. Mahjong then admits that he's come to realize one clear truth in this world: the most important thing is money. With that in mind, he says that his first plan is to sell the football club, use the money to buy a building, and finally start living a rich, comfortable life. The next day, the lawyer explains that normally the inheritance is supposed to be divided equally between the children, but he wanted to send the inheritance to him. The lawyer then asks why he is sure he doesn't want to visit the club, so Mahjong says that he googled it and realizes that the team is struggling in the relegation zone in the 3rd division. Mahjong's document stuff gets completed properly, and before leaving, the lawyer tells him that the cash assists will come tomorrow. The next day, Mahjong receives the full 3.8 billion yen in his account, and he feels overjoyed, thinking that from now on he's going to live his life like a king. Later, he goes out with his friend to buy a car, and without any hesitation, he casually chooses a McLaren. The following day, the two lawyers meet up again, and the foreign lawyer asks if everything went well with the work they did yesterday. He also mentions that he didn't tell Mahjong anything about the football club's real condition or the huge debt it carried. The other lawyer just shrugs and says it wasn't a big deal, so he simply told Mahjong what was necessary. He then pulls out his phone and shows the foreign lawyer a Google profile he made through a third-party website, which he used to trick people into believing he was a legitimate, famous lawyer. On the other hand, Mahjong is having a great time driving around in his new car, thinking about where he should go for his next holiday trip. Just then, He gets a phone call, and the person on the other end tells him that after checking the details, it turns out the football club had taken out a huge bank loan using the club itself as collateral. Because of that, no one wants to buy it anymore, and the club now owes around £100 million. Hearing this, Mahjong completely loses his mind, thinking about how he's never even seen 100 billion won in real life, yet now he somehow has a debt of 150 billion. Meanwhile, the two lawyers are busy enjoying themselves at a party, laughing and drinking, when they suddenly find out that Mahjong has already hired a new lawyer to handle his case. 3 days later, Mahjong lies on his bed like a drunk, completely exhausted after visiting several law firms and even going to the police station for help. The only answer he gets is that while it's usually possible to give up an inheritance within 3 months, in the case of a complete gift, it's impossible to undo. The police also tell him that there's nothing they can do about the situation. To make things even worse, Mahjong finds out that it was one of his grandfather's relatives who had hired Sango in the first place, and that same relative has now disappeared without a trace, leaving him completely helpless. The next day, Mahjong looks up information about a team called the Burned Wanderers, a club with a long history and strong traditions where the famous Korean legend Lee Chang-yong once played. Despite its proud past, Bolton is now sitting at 21st place out of 24 teams in the 3rd division this season, and most experts already believe that their fate is sealed. Hearing this, Mahjong's friend asks what they're supposed to do now, and Mahjong says that he's been thinking about it for a few days and has come up with both Plan A and Plan B. He explains that if they go with Plan B, it basically means declaring bankruptcy, and if that happens, the club will be expelled from the league and pushed all the way down to the 5th division. Mahjong tells his friend that he'll be staying at his place until he's cleared of all responsibility. His friend tells him to just find a new job instead, but Mahjong explains that he's already too well known in the domestic league, and most people pretend not to know him as soon as they hear his name. His friend tries hard to stop him from staying over, but Mahjong keeps insisting and does everything he can to convince him. After some time, the friend asks about his Plan A, and Mahjong says that his goal is to sell the team. He explains that people won't buy the club easily because it's buried in debt, but they might still take it if it's offered at a lower price. He then adds that their first step should be to go to the UK and do everything they can as the team's owners to keep the club from being relegated before this season ends. Mahjong tells him that they are going to go on this planet together and says that he helped him last time, so now he wants his plan. In the end, the guy says that it would be good for his family, and as long as it solves his family's financial problems, then he is in this plan. The next day, Mahjong finally takes a flight to UK where he meets up with a coach. The coach explains to Mahjong that running a professional sports team isn't easy because it requires a large number of people, including players, coaches, and various administrative staff. All of them together are known as the front office. He then begins talking about the history of their team, the Bolton Wanderers, which was founded back in 1874 and has a long tradition in English football. About an hour earlier, when Mahjong had first arrived in the UK, he met a man named Richard Gears, who introduced himself and offered to give him a tour around the club's facilities. Back in the present, Mahjong starts to feel bored as Richard keeps explaining one thing after another, but the moment the topic changes to the club's revenue structure, his interest suddenly sparks again. Richard explains that the club's income is divided into 5 main categories, and the most important ones are the game day ticket sales and the season tickets for the Wanderers fans. Curious, Mahjong asks why they don't open the upper deck of the stadium to earn more money, but Richard replies that the main reason is the population size of Bolton, which is just a small city district in England and doesn't have enough people to fill the extra seats. After the explanation is over, Richard shows Mahjong around the different facilities, including the medical support team, the training area, and a meeting with the coaching staff. Later on, Mahjong tells Richard that they need to start cutting down their expenses, and the first step toward that should be rebuilding the team from the ground up. When he brings this up with the head coach, he suggests reducing the team's size, which immediately makes the coach furious because he can't believe Mahjong wants to do something like that at such a critical time. Mahjong gets angry too and argues that even after spending so much money on top players, the team's performance hasn't gotten any better. Later on, Richard tells him that their team's budget is actually 3 times higher than most other clubs. He explains that the previous management was focused mainly on getting promoted, so they spent a huge amount of money on players this season. Later that day, the head coach is still furious with Mahjong, and to get back at him, he starts spreading hate about Mahjong online. Meanwhile, Mahjong tells his friend that too many players are earning millions for doing almost nothing, so they need to take action to save money. Because of that, he decides to release a large number of players from the team. Hearing this, his friend gets shocked and reminds him that their next match is tomorrow, and if they lose, they'll drop all the way down to 24th place in the league. Later that night, Richard thinks to himself that the new club owner seems very different from the previous one. Just then, a girl walks in and asks him if the squad reduction plan was his idea. The girl introduces herself as Charlotte Emma, the head of the strategic planning team for the Bolton Wanderers. She thanks Richard for convincing the owner to start this restructuring plan, but Richard quickly explains that it wasn't his idea at all, it was actually a recommendation from the new owner himself. Hearing that, Emma becomes upset and says that the new owner must be a complete jerk for planning to sell the club right after taking over. However, Richard says and tells him that after he read these documents and talked to him about his plans, he was somewhat convinced about him and his ideas, and he thinks and believes that this new owner is passionate about football and really cares. The next day after that conversation, it is the match day and game time, and Mahjong thinks and observes that the supporters here are not enthusiastic or excited because they always lose every game and make their fans disappointed and upset with the results. He thinks and realizes that even the number of supporters who came to watch has reduced and gotten smaller, as out of 3,000 people who showed up, 1,000 of them will definitely support Milton and cheer for the other team. After that, the match begins and starts on the field, and a striker from Milton scores the first goal early in the game, which makes the supporters even more exhausted and bored from this game and tired of losing. However, there is still one kid who came here by himself to support Bolton, but Mahjong wonders how these players got into a professional team like Bolton because they can't play. Seeing that, the kid shows the middle finger and decides to leave Bolton's fanbase because of their trash play. Mahjong realizes that the problem is not only with their players, but he thinks that the head coach is also a big problem, so he will immediately fire him after receiving the sales money. He thinks that even the current lineup for the match is a mess because of that head coach. The second problem Mahjong thinks is that the number of their supporters is too small. Even though they managed not to be in the last position in the league this time, it still won't change their situation. Mahjong's friend Hee-won asks what can be done to attract large amount of supporters, but Mahjong asks him what his nickname is, so Hee-won says that it's trash, gambler and other insulting names, but Mahjong says that it's gambler and he is going to bet on football. He is planning to place bets on football games, which is something that cannot be separated from the sport in England. Football clubs in England regularly partner with betting companies to serve as their sponsors. The fans view betting as an enjoyable activity that adds entertainment value to their experience. Supporters place wagers simply to make the matches more thrilling and exciting to watch. The act of betting is similar to making a hopeful prediction and then working to see it become reality. People bet on their favorite team and then spend the entire match praying and cheering enthusiastically for that team to achieve victory. The sponsorship relationship with betting companies is extremely visible and prominent in English football. More than 2 different football teams have already proudly displayed the betting company logos embroidered directly onto their team uniforms. During the previous match that has taken place, several fans are seen crumpling up and tearing apart papers they hold in their hands, and he feels completely certain that those papers must be betting slips. Therefore, it seems necessary to actively encourage the team's supporters to participate in betting activities. At that particular moment, all of the relevant people are gathered together inside a meeting room. Mahjong is actively discussing and presenting these various issues to everyone who is present. Richard responds by saying that this is definitely not the first time they have heard discussions about this topic, and he wants to know if Mahjong is suggesting a different approach from what other teams are using. Mahjong explains that the system will work just like the typical betting system that already exists. The team will offer and sell limited edition betting tickets that are specifically branded with their team. For instance, they can sell betting tickets that record outcomes like points lost by one or matches that end in a draw. Someone questions whether betting on only a single match is quite a risky business venture because there is a real possibility of losing money. Mahjong acknowledges that there is a probability of 1 out of 3, which means they have approximately a 33% chance of achieving a winning outcome. While it might sound somewhat like traditional gambling, Mahjong urges everyone to believe him when he says that these particular bets will not negatively affect their financial resources or pockets. The reason behind this is that they can provide refunds of the entrance ticket money on the specific condition that fans correctly guess which team will manage to score goals and what the final score of the match will ultimately be. When supporters purchase a ticket to attend a match, they automatically receive a betting ticket along with it. The concept is essentially like buying one get one free promotion. Naturally, this only applies if the audience members actually want to participate, and it is wonderful to bet on which team will successfully score a goal during the game. Even for people who are not particularly interested in betting activities, it still seems worth attempting just for the fun and entertainment value. Even in matches where the score ends up being 2-0 or 3-0, people simply need to predict which team will be the one to score. Several people who are present say that from the perspective of the audience members, this betting system appears to be worth trying out. The blonde woman named Emma carefully thinks about the situation and shares her comments with him regarding the proposal. He is making plans to personally lead and manage this entire project by himself. All of the previous owners have never truly taken the time to understand the projects they approve. They only know how to give their approval without deeper involvement. However, deep down inside her thoughts, Emma believes that her strong dislike for him has never changed or diminished because he has sold the club again after initially taking it over. She decides that she needs to keep a very close and watchful eye on him going forward. After thinking these thoughts, she becomes even more irritated and annoyed while staring directly at Mahjong's character. At this time at the training ground location, Mahjong's friend is currently listening to this live radio broadcast that is being aired. Then another person asks what he is doing and he responds by saying that he is listening to the radio program because Mahjong has appeared on it to speak. That person happens to be the director of the team. Then he also moves closer to listening to the broadcast along with everyone else. Many different people who are driving their vehicles are also tuning in to listen to the radio station, and even the workers who are currently working in the textile factories are also listening to the program being broadcast. At this particular moment, the presenter says that he really wants to ask this specific question because he is still feeling very worried when the team is still facing consecutive losses that keep happening. He wonders why Mahjong has decided to sell 6 of the team's main players and even the legend who has fought for the team for many years with dedication. Mahjong grins widely because he is unable to control his facial expression properly. He replies by saying that the presenter knows that the current situation of the team is very worrying and concerning. Therefore, he completely understands why the presenter has asked that particular question. In the past time period, the team's players played very well and performed admirably, but he must also admit honestly that it is all just the past now. The presenter replies by stating that it seems that not many fans will like or appreciate his previous statement that he just made. Mahjong really wants to scold this presenter harshly, but he cannot do so in this public setting. Then he takes the example of the team's legendary cymbal player, who had dedicated himself completely to the team, who is Owen Doyle. However, this player will also retire very soon from professional football. He is also over 30 years old at this point. Unfortunately, he has only scored 3 goals in the last 20 matches in this league competition. Mahjong does not mean to blame any individual player specifically for the team's problems. However, the truth is that Owen has declined significantly in form recently and even the fans cannot deny this obvious fact. The fans who are listening to the radio broadcast are also very upset and disappointed because it seems that they have been hit with harsh reality. Mahjong continues speaking by saying that he knows the team symbol alone cannot do anything significant when the team is not strong enough overall. Everyone discusses whether it is reasonable to transfer such a legend who is also the best player, and that is exactly why they must change the main pillars in their team structure. From the accumulated experience he has gained, Mahjong knows that transferring a large number of players will cause the team's mood and spirit to decline noticeably. Then because of the bad results that follow, sales figures will plummet dramatically. But currently, the team's position is at the very bottom of the table standings. The reason why many fans are upset with the transfer of players is that he thinks it is just an illusion of the past glory. If supporters cannot let go of that illusion completely, then in the end, they will only become worse and fail again repeatedly. Although it is very painful to say, he will still state clearly that he has no intention of keeping those 6 players who have left the team. He must eliminate the bad elements from the team before it becomes too late so that he can prepare for the team's new transition phase properly. He is very grateful for all the support and commitment to the team so far from everyone. But he wants that past period to rest in peace now. Everyone realizes that this chairman is far from what they originally imagined he would be. He is strong and also very confident in his plan for the future. He sends a message to the fans saying please wait a little longer with patience. This season he will try his best to make the team win matches. He asks them to please follow the team and he will prove his capabilities. The members of the team think that he is indeed a skilled orator who speaks well. It's the 28th match of the league, and Bolton tries to get back in form against Alcrington, but the game still ends in a 0-0 draw. After the match, Richard points out that they only defended with 3 players in the back, but Mahjong says he noticed something different even with the naked eye. The number of spectators has increased a lot compared to the last 27 matches. He then thinks to himself that the betting system might attract more fans for a while, but in the end, what the supporters truly want is victory. If things keep going like this and they keep losing, it's only a matter of time before those spectators start leaving again. Richard then asks Mahjong what's next on the schedule, and Mahjong replies that it's a meeting with Agency A. Richard explains that Agency A is the one directly recommended by Derek Scott to the former owner. The head of the agency, James, has brought several players into the team before, but most of those players ended up playing badly and not helping much. Later that day, Mahjong meets James, who is the director of Agency A. During their talk, Mahjong explains that the team really needs new players right now, especially strikers, center-backs, and central midfielders. He says that they need a striker who has fast footwork because he plans to use him on the right side in a two-top formation. He also mentions that he is searching for a left-footed player, since right-footed players often cost more money. James then offers them a player named Gosley as an option, but Mahjong asks and questions why he offered them expensive players from the start instead of cheaper options, but James says and explains that since they are struggling and doing poorly, they should recruit expensive players to get out of this crisis and improve quickly. Mahjong tells him to suggest someone proper and more reasonable for their budget, so James suggests Rufa from EPL, 2 as another option, but then he also suggests Gabriel, who is a little cheaper than Rufa and costs less money. But Mahjong thinks and points out that he is slow and does not have good speed on the field. It turns out that James knows who Mahjong is and his reputation, so he tested his knowledge of football and saw if he really knows the sport, and he is pretty impressed with it and his understanding. After that happens, Mahjong loses his calm and patience and tells James to suggest a right solution as he has explained to him many times what he wants and needs for the team. Mahjong then explains that Bolton has only scored 16 goals so far, which is not even half of the 50 goals they need. He says that if they look at the league numbers from the past 10 years, they need around 30 more goals just to stay in the league and avoid falling behind. After saying this, Mahjong stands up to leave and tells James that he is actually not there to get more players, and he even already removed 7 players who came from James's agency because he feels that the money they spent does not match the level of the players' performance. Before walking out, Mahjong mentions that he heard Derek Scott is working under Agency A, and he calmly wonders if James plans to fire Derek as well. Later that night, Richard is packing his things to go home, but then he sees a light shining from Mahjong's office, so he guesses that Mahjong is still working late. As he walks by, he hears some employees talking among themselves about how Mahjong works very hard to make money by selling players, and how he even treats his office like it is his own house. Richard thinks about how, ever since Mahjong became the owner of the club, people have been gossiping about him and spreading bad rumors. He also thinks that if Mahjong ends up being the same as the old owner, then Bolton will only fall even further behind and become worse. Richard walks into the office and sees Mahjong and one of his friends cooking food and having a relaxed time together. After that, all 3 of them sit down and eat ramen. While they eat, Mahjong asks Richard if the head coach, Derek, has done anything strange so far. Richard explains that he thinks Derek is like a poison to the club, and he also says that his own relationship with the previous owner started to fall apart ever since Derek was chosen as the head coach. When Mahjong hears this, he realizes that his grandfather must not have checked the files that were handled by the executive director, and he also starts to think that Derek did something behind the scenes to get the position he wanted. After that, Mahjong offers Richard a drink, and the 3 of them spend the whole night eating ramen and drinking together. The next morning, Mahjong gives Richard a list of players that they have recruited from Agency A, and Richard notices that 2 of the players are actually related to Derek. When he sees this, Richard becomes shocked and starts wondering how Mahjong found out about this. Mahjong explains that when he had some free time, he visited the first training center and worked out there, so he slowly got close to some of the players and learned this information from them. Mahjong further says that some complained to him that there was discrimination in the use of players due to their blood ties. Hearing that, Mahjong's friend says that this kind of thing has happened before, since there was a similar case in the K3 League. He explains the incident where a foolish coach took bribes from agents and then brought in players because of that. After listening, Mahjong tells Richard to recommend someone who is trustworthy. A few days later, a staff member of Bolton named Tom asks one of his coworkers if he has heard a strange rumor that Agency A tried to sell new players to the owner for a very high price. The next day, a player overhears some people talking about the same rumor in the dressing room, and it turns out that the player who is listening to them actually has a family connection to Agency A. At this particular time, Mahjong is smiling happily while reading those comments on social media platforms. Then he stops reading and puts his tablet down on the table surface. He leans back in his chair comfortably and says to Richard that this case is noisier than he originally thought it would be. He wonders why this rumor is spreading so fast throughout the community. Richard replies by saying that he guesses he is really good at evaluating people accurately. Mahjong opens his mouth and smiles triumphantly with confidence showing on his face. He replies by stating that it seems like he is also quite good at evaluating people properly. Then suddenly the landline phone in front of him rings loudly. He picks up the phone and hears the other end say that they will have an interview with someone in 5 minutes from now. It seems like the secretary is reminding him of the schedule he needs to follow. He stands up and says that just in time, it is time to clean up this mess that has been created. Then he goes to interview with that magazine in the capacity of the new owner of the team officially. He reveals his panoramic view of the reform for the team to the interviewer. He tells the interviewer that Coach Scott has negotiated with brokerage company A about the selection of new players for the roster. His eyes at this moment are sparkling brightly and happily smiling with enthusiasm. Soon after the magazine article is posted online for everyone to see, the head coach reads the magazine article carefully. He trembles with anger and curses loudly in frustration. He wonders how Mahjong dares to say that publicly. He believes that Mahjong is the one who has messed everything up completely. And at that time, the club informs Director James of Brokerage Company A over the phone that they will terminate the cooperation contract with them immediately. If Bolton still wants to transfer players from Company A in the future, then the contracts of both parties will end permanently. At this time, the head coach realizes that he has been dragged into a mess unwillingly. He is sure that he will have to hear complaints from the players who are about to leave the team. But he thinks that he has nothing to do with this situation directly. He wonders what he should say to them when they approach him. And even if that team owner is a bit abnormal in behavior, he would not say such nonsense during a local interview publicly. The head coach determines there must have been a deal between Company A and Mahjong because they look like they are going against him personally. He angrily curses in his head with frustration. He thinks that Rodin Asian is trying to frame him intentionally. He questions whether Mahjong really thinks he cannot see through the plan. Then he storms into the chairman's room angrily. Mahjong is shouting loudly asking what is going on with the chairman. Mahjong is eating instant noodles again and is surprised by the interruption. He raises his face and says to him asking what he is talking about specifically. He immediately shouts loudly demanding to know if Mahjong thinks he does not know the truth. He asks if Mahjong is the one who spread these rumors intentionally. Mahjong pretends not to know and replies by asking which rumors he means. If there are any rumors going on in the club currently, then the coach must be the one to tell him about them. The coach shouts about the rumor about him cooperating with Company A for the selection of new players and about him having a list of 6 players who are about to be transferred away. Mahjong picks up a chopstick of instant noodles and puts it in his mouth casually and says that he knows about that rumor now. But he never said that statement publicly. At this time, the head coach is extremely angry and frustrated. He asks him again about the statement he said during the interview session. Mahjong replies by asking if the coach is the one who promoted investment to prevent the club from being relegated to a lower division. He remembers the time when the coach said that even if they invest more money, they will not be able to escape the risk of relegation happening. Mahjong then adds that he did not approach Company A to broker for investment purposes, but he never said that he was the one who decided the list of players they would transfer away. He only made suggestions about new players with more potential for success. He questions why someone would spread such false rumors about the situation. The head coach thinks that Mahjong is bending the truth and attacking him with lies deliberately. Mahjong's shameless face appears and says to the coach that even though these rumors are indeed making everyone suspicious of him, he should realize that the overall performance of their team is very poor currently. He then gets angry and he curses in his head, calling Mahjong a terrible person. Putting the cup of instant noodles down on the table carefully, Mahjong says that thinking about it again brings up interesting points. Two of the players of the Bolton team are the coach's nephews relating by family. At this time, it seems that the rumor started because they were both recruited from company specifically. The old head coach intends to defend himself by stammering to say he cannot believe that Mahjong would know about that connection. Mahjong is looking at articles written about him on various platforms. Things are getting worse for the coach because there are many players who think he should be fired immediately. He holds up the tablet with the title of that article and asks if the coach wants him to show the evidence. The article is writing that recently the player of brokerage company A named Owen stated that the decision to transfer 6 players was related to Scott and James working together. The coach thinks that the contract involving Scott, James and Owen as a shady deal is somewhat over. He then thinks about the betrayal he got from the people he had trusted. Mahjong, who is standing nearby, walks towards him with confidence. Startled, the coach takes a nervous step back while Mahjong keeps starting at him. Pointing directly at him, Mahjong accuses him of recently receiving a large sum of money from this deal and implies that he is enjoying money obtained through illegal means, his expression triumphant and unyielding. Mahjong makes it clear that he will see the coach in court and labels him a greedy old man, leaving no doubt about his intentions. Soon after, investigators uncover solid evidence of corruption involving the head coach and the director of the brokerage company, confirming Mahjong's accusations. They discover irregularities in his bank account statements when submitted to the EFL during the player transfer process officially. He has pocketed more money than was reported in the documents, and the director of company A has to face charges of forging documents and money laundering crimes. Besides that company also has to face discipline from the English Football Association, and they cannot sign contracts with clubs from the EFL 3 or higher for the next 5 years as punishment. However, brokerage company A assigns responsibility to their director and claims they did not know anything about the illegal activities. Then they appeal the court's ruling to try to reduce penalties. Therefore, brokerage company A's request for damages from the director is also dismissed shortly after the investigation begins officially. Bolton requests about $3 billion in compensation costs, which is enough to secure 3 EFL 1 players for the roster. It will take quite a while to resolve, but brokerage companies usually cannot win against the English Football Association in legal battles. And the English Football Association has also shown the world what justice is and will have to return $30 billion to the team as compensation. Moreover, firing that head coach without needing a new contract is the most successful outcome. Mahjong thinks that now everything will go smoothly for the club moving forward. However, Mahjong still does not foresee all problems. Bolton still loses the next football match that they play. With Derek Scott's departure from the team, a temporary coach replaces him for matches. Mahjong is extremely angry because the team loses the match again repeatedly. He picks up the chair and curses, intending to break things to vent his anger and frustration. Fortunately, everyone around him steps in and stops him before things get worse. After the incident, he heads back to his club office to try to calm himself down, still frustrated from what just happened. He vents to his friend about the situation, explaining that from the very beginning, he never liked that guy's ideas about reforming the club, but he kept quiet and never said anything. His friend hesitates, looking worried, and warns that this could mark the end of their era completely, hinting that they might be forced back into a life of struggle and poverty once again. Mahjong replies that the players have been a complete mess, and the coach isn't any better in terms of skill or quality. He explains that today's events make it obvious to everyone that the new coach is basically a sickly, dyed-hair version of Derek Scott. Holding his head in frustration and shaking it, Mahjong adds that the new coach has always been the right-hand man of the old head coach, so there's no point in keeping him around, they should just fire him immediately. But talking and complaining is one thing and doing something is another matter entirely, because if they replace someone, they need someone capable of replacing them. He then wonders who would want to get on a sinking ship like their team currently. Mahjong asks his friend if he knows any affordable, experienced coaches who are receptive and not currently with another team at the moment. The friend says he knows some coaches, but they would accept better teams than theirs without question. The friend tells him that instead of racking his brain over this, why he not just becomes the coach himself personally. After all, he is the owner, so he should take responsibility for it directly. After hearing his friend's words, Mahjong's face darkens, and he remains silent for a moment, thinking deeply. His friend becomes worried and says not to worry too much about the situation. He is sure they will find the right coach soon enough. He questions what is with that face Mahjong is making. He says this is not a photo shoot session. He tells him to get rid of that cheesy look because it is disgusting, so he should get rid of it right now immediately. Mahjong is making a strangely bright face, making his friend feel creeped out by the expression. He says congratulations to him because he is promoting him to coach of the under-21 team and head coach of the first team. His friend is stunned and cannot believe his ears at all. He jumps up and asks if it is really true and if Mahjong is not kidding around. Mahjong tells him it is true and wishes him the best of luck. His friend comes over and hugs the president, laughing with joy, and says that his grandma always told him he should stick by Mahjong loyally. Later at the team stadium location, everyone is warming up to practice for the upcoming match. Mahjong picks up the loudspeaker and calls everyone's attention to him. He introduces himself to all the players present. He states his name is Mahjong clearly. From today forward, he will be the owner and manager of this team officially. If anyone looks down on his instructions because he is the new manager without experience, then they should be prepared to be fired from the team. Like the 9 previous players who were let go, if they do not unite as a team properly, they will not be able to win matches. Therefore, it is not best for the team that those who are not suitable should leave the roster. He asks if he is right about this. Their next opponent is waiting for Manchester, which is the Rodale's team specifically. They will compete with opponents in the same area geographically. Therefore, they will have to show a good performance for the fans to see in the next match coming up. Then they will choose the players based on training performance results, not reputation or market price value. So, if anyone wants to be in the main squad lineup, they should try their best in this training session today. A player seems to despise Mahjong completely. He spits and says that Mahjong is just talking nonsense without substance. He blames him for how this country bumpkin got the position of manager, and he is not even sure if this guy knows any basic tactics at all. He is Victor Johnson, a former player of the old head coach Derek Scott, currently the main midfielder on the team. He says that he really does not feel like training today at all seriously and disdainfully looks at Mahjong who is cheering everyone on. He tells everyone to train and follow the coach's instructions to run to the corresponding position on the field. He also says that he cannot believe that one day he would have to run on the same field with those Asians playing beside him. He thinks that is the one Mahjong chose for the team. He will definitely be in the main squad without question. And those fools who are trying to train to be selected really believe that this group can face the opponent in the next match successfully. He finds it ridiculous and laughable. A few days later at this time, the Bolton team's press conference preparing for the match with Rodale is taking place officially. A reporter asks Mahjong that he heard that he has reduced half of the team members in the past month drastically. At this time specifically, Mahjong is extremely annoyed with the hateful questions of the reporters present. They ask a lot of questions like asking if he realizes that many fans are not satisfied with these decisions or why he signs a contract without an agent with a free player available. He knows right away that the reporters no longer want to ask him about the upcoming match with the Rodale team. He thinks that whether it's Korea or England, the reporters are still the same everywhere. He then looks around the reporters who are creating a chaos, asking him countless questions. Remembering Richard's words of advice, he lets those meaningless words go in one ear and out the other without affecting him. Since it's the time for them to be proactive and move forward with their plans, he tells the reporters that this is indeed right about everything. He wants to become a manager as he believes that he will do well in the position. He asks if they are not all becoming journalists with what they want in their careers. Changa is a player that he has had his eye on since he was on the team in Korea previously. It is obvious when recruiting such a talented player to the roster. He tells the reporters more of that information. However, he also understands the doubts that fans have for him completely. Therefore, to reassure everyone about his abilities, he will bet a game on his position. The reporters are confused by his words and statement. He explains that in the next 3 matches coming up, starting with the Rodale's team specifically, if he loses one match at all, he will immediately resign as manager of the team. The next day, Bolton and Rodale's 30th match takes place at the stadium, and the atmosphere in the stadium is quite tense when a lot of fans come to curse Mahjong loudly. On the field below, Mahjong looks up at the audience cursing him, and he does not feel pressured at all by them but instead finds it interesting and amusing. He raises his hand to greet everyone and thanks them for everyone's enthusiastic encouragement sarcastically. The audience hears this and becomes angrier and curses him more intensely. The coach of the opposing team thinks that, as expected from rumors, he is only good at pretending to be confident. The fans cheer with that coach and tell him to kick that terrible person out of the field immediately. They are looking forward to seeing him fail in today's match badly. He thinks that it is indeed a sight to see happening. Therefore, he will make that happen soon enough. Everyone realizes that there are a lot of fans coming here today for the match. They hear that there are about 32,000 fans coming to join the crowd. The assistant coach of the Rodale's team says that he thought that number was only for big teams like Sunderland usually. He thinks everyone came here just to see the principal of Bolton being humiliated publicly. That coach thinks of Bolton's new players on the roster. They are just unknown players and most of them are new faces that he has never heard of before. After all, Mahjong was hired because he is acquainted with the club owner personally. At this time, the match of the two teams has started officially. That coach thinks that this will be the first as well as the last time of Mahjong as a coach ever. Determined, he tells himself to give his best against the amateur players, staying focused as the match continues. Then, he notices a sudden change on the field during play that catches his attention. Bolton sends a long pass toward the opposing team's goal, and the goalkeeper for Rodale's team immediately senses that something is off with the ball's movement because the Bolton striker is sprinting toward him at incredible speed. Changa catches the ball while moving forward with unbelievable quickness, leaving Rodale's defenders struggling to close the gap in time because they didn't expect such fast movement from their opponent. Without missing a beat, Changa positions the ball perfectly toward the goal, and it rolls straight into the net, leaving everyone watching completely shocked and unable to believe what just happened. Bolton scores the first goal in just 7 minutes in the first half period. The commentator identifies the controversial recruitment and the unexpected first goal in the debut match has been scored by the player Park Changa successfully. His friend is also delighted and happy when he scores the goal. Changa is a player who has worked very hard even if he was only in the old league before, who scores the first goal for this new team just as the team from Mahjong wanted to happen. At this time the chairman is turning to shout at the fans to see what happened thanks to him. The fans at this time are also happily raising posters cursing Mahjong and shouting back that they love him as the crazy person. Mahjong told him to just run forward like he used to do, but the power of the opponent team is more than 1.5 times different in strength. And the opponent team was off guard during the play. If their defense was a little stronger in formation, they would not have been able to score like that easily. But Mahjong also says asking who cares about that. Then he rushes to hug Park Changa, excitedly celebrating the goal together. The coach of the opposing team grits his teeth angrily and tells himself that they were not prepared and lost the first point unfortunately. But with a team like theirs, if they can score again immediately, then they will win the match. As usual in the game, Quick Floyd of Bolton is leading the ball directly forward. Because at this moment on the field, the Bolton team is applying direct pressure right from the start of the second half period. Even though they are leading by 2 goals already, they are not giving the opponent a moment's rest at all. Mahjong is smiling brightly watching the game. His friend, watching the team's tactics, exclaims that this is scary to see. He mentions that Mahjong is still gambling even though they have already got it in the bag safely. Mahjong remembers the moment in the first half when the team successfully scored another goal thanks to a free kick opportunity. His friend once said to him that he did it successfully. Now they just need to defend the lead in the second half if they park the bus with 10 players defensively. But Mahjong said that he will not do that because he realizes that if it ends here, there will not be any interesting news for the front page coverage. At this moment, the Bolton players on the field push forward, leaving only the Shield player Dominic behind alone. They are putting a lot of pressure on Rodale's front line constantly. It seems like they do not want to end the match with a 2-point lead only. Mahjong smirks and says that this is not gambling at all. This is the peak of fighting spirit instead. He reminds his friend that he has watched their team's previous matches many times before. Even if they defend with all their might, they still lose matches. He is glad they did not score while trying to block the ball clumsily like that before. He says this to his friend directly. This direct pressure is not an offensive tactic really. While they are sticking close to them and still want them not to attack, this is a solid defensive strategy instead. A player from the opposing team under pressure passes the ball back to the goalkeeper for safety. The goalkeeper does not hesitate and immediately kicks the ball high upfield quickly. The biggest weakness of this direct pressure tactic is when all the players are putting pressure up front, they will not be able to deal with a high pass aimed at the space behind in their own half area. The high ball that the goalkeeper kicked upfield is dealt with. However, the clumsy skills of the Rodale team's amateur players and Dominic's ability to handle high balls and defense can compensate for this weakness in the strategy perfectly. At this moment, Quick Floyd, the central defender of the Bolton team, is dribbling the ball forward alone confidently. He is 1 meter 84 centimeters tall, although this height is quite short for a central defender position, but instead he has very good ball control skills. He just performs an artistic dribbling move to break through the opponent's defense successfully. His friend shouts that it is a great job and he is doing great out there. And then he asks Mahjong if he heard his nickname, Quick Floyd. Mahjong confirms yes, explaining it is because he is super fast and there is also a superhero with a similar name reference. At this moment, he is dribbling the ball deep into the right corner of the opponent's field area. His teammates are shouting, urging everyone to push the ball forward and asking him to receive the ball inside the box. The opposing team's defense is desperately trying to defend Quick Floyd from advancing. Then a defender slides in, intending to block this pass from him forcefully. But then, something unexpected happens. Quick Floyd suddenly stops right before going through with the slide movement. It turns out to be a clean feint, and instead of continuing to dribble on his own, he passes the ball to a teammate who is running in fast from the wing. Everyone gets excited at how smooth the feint looks, but Mahjong explains that the reason he does that is actually because he does not know how to make a proper pass. He only really knows how to dribble well. The reason he is playing as a central defender, even though his dribbling skills are amazing, is because his passing and kicking abilities are overall very weak. On top of that, his control of the ball in the air is still not complete enough for him to use it well as a central defender. Because of this, he has always stayed on the second team before and never got a big role. But the reason Mahjong chooses him as the main dribbler now is shown by what is happening on the field. Mahjong points out that he can start a strong attack by dribbling forward and opening up a very wide space, just like he is doing at this moment on the opponent's side. This wide space also helps pull attention away from Changa, who has a high chance to score more goals. Right now, the forward in the center raises his hand asking for the ball to be passed. The ball from the wing is crossed toward the players inside. Then, the teammate uses the outside of his foot to make a soft, accurate pass toward the goal. Bolton ends up winning the match easily, and after the game, the Bolton fan community message board is filled with encouragement and praise, although a few people are still complaining. 2 days later, Bolton's captain, David Dignity, is at training and he starts to wonder how long Mahjong is going to keep making them do rondo drills. He feels annoyed because they have been repeating the exact same practice every single day. Mahjong tells him that he is still too slow and that he will not be able to steal the ball today either. One of Mahjong's friends comments that the team looks like they are struggling, but Mahjong says that training is meant to be difficult because the current Bolton team is far too weak overall. He believes that by doing rondo, the players will build better teamwork and also improve their footwork at the same time. Moreover, after assigning each player the role of passer or tagger, the passer group takes place in a formation surrounding the tagger group. He further adds that the reason for placing Quick in the middle of the tagger team is to develop the ability to deal with pressure in the middle of enemy territory. He then says that it would be nice to have a reverse card that can turn the tide when they are in a losing game. Mahjong looks around the field and realizes that there is no player in Bolton who can do everything, so every player needs to help cover each other's weaknesses. When the 10-minute break comes, Mahjong tells Changa to go with him for special training. During this session, Mahjong explains something called tactics of deception, which is a method to protect his body so that he does not end up hurt again. He tells Changa about a player named Marinho who once got barely touched, yet he still rolled all over the grass like he was in terrible pain. Because of this kind of acting, the other team becomes afraid to make tackles, since they feel uncomfortable and do not want to cause injuries. Because of that kind of acting, the other team becomes scared to tackle it since they feel uneasy. After explaining this, Mahjong makes Chagna practice acting like he is hurt and try to make people worry about him. A few hours later, Emma reminds Mahjong that he should not forget his duties as the owner and that they are low on staff because 6 employees have quit within the last 2 months. Just then, a kid walks into the room holding a plant. Emma wonders who he is, so Mahjong explains that the kid is Nicky, Thompson's son, and Thompson works in the facility management area. Mahjong says that Thompson asked for help because he has no place to leave Nicky during the week since both parents work and they earn money together, so Mahjong lets Nicky do small errands here and also shows him around the stadium while he is here. Later that day, Nicky and his father see a gacha event outside the stadium, and when Nicky's father tries the machine, he ends up winning a daily Bolton staff experience ticket. The next day, everyone gathers in the office to receive the rewards they won, and Mahjong feels that things are going much better than he expected. When he first saw Nikki, he came up with this idea, so now he does not need to spend money to find extra manpower. He believes it is possible because there are many people who truly care about football, and the fans are not only interested in the matches but also in how the team is running and how the players are doing. Mahjong tells his friend that he originally thought not many people would join since most fans have regular jobs, but instead the staff experience sign-up schedule is completely full, and there is even a waiting list for people who want to join. Later that day, Mahjong visits the Kearsley broadcasting station because he thinks that it's time to manage the public opinion of Wanderers in the surrounding area. The interviewer asks him about how he released bunch of players as soon as he got into the team, so he says that there are a lot of people who thinks that the size of the squad is just too small. Mahjong then talks about Derek Scott's system, saying that the number of players Coach Scott has used so far is only 16. Even though there are many players sitting on the bench, Scott only focuses on the main starters and ends up overworking them. After hearing this, the bald interviewer asks if Mahjong remembers the bet he made before the last match, where he said he would resign from his director position if he lost even 1 out of 3 games. Mahjong answers with confidence that the bet is still active, and they still have 2 games left. He clearly says that if they lose, he will resign, and he promises that they will try their best to find and bring in a new director who will satisfy the fans. The next day, Mahjong's friend talks to him about their 31st round opponent, Salopia Town, saying that the team is currently ranked 18th in the league. He also mentions that Salopia has 2 legendary players, so he thinks they should make a plan to put pressure on both of them, so they won't be able to hold the ball too long. Right then, another person comments that this match will be much harder than the game against Roch. He explains that Roch had already lost 3 games in a row before they faced Bolton, but Salopia is different because they are on a 3-game winning streak right now, which makes them more confident and tougher to play against. The guy further tells Mahjong that they have to strengthen their defense with a strategy that allows them to counterattack, and he thinks using Park for high-speed counterattack is good too. Mahjong gets surprised as he never thought he would personally recommend non-starter players. Mahjong then asks how about Owen Precise, as he is thinking of making him a starter this time, but the other guy says that it would be unreasonable to appoint him as starter. However, the other guy asks him the reason for that, as Owen is a player whose career is as good as over, so why is he trying to appoint him? Mahjong replies that out of all the Bolton team players, there's no one whose kick is as precise as Owen. Later that day, Owen sees his name on the notice board and can't believe that he has been called up to the first team. He remembers meeting the owner a few times, but he never thought that the owner would actually let him play. Owen had been thinking about ending his career because of his knee injury, but now he is suddenly on the first team, which surprises him. Just then, Mahjong arrives, and Owen asks why he was chosen, so Mahjong explains that he had seen Owen practicing alone every week and noticed that he has very strong kicking power. Mahjong also tells him that in the next game, he wants to see him using both feet freely as a striker for the team. He explains that he doesn't need to run around much but should just stay in one place like a stake, and then when he notices the right timing for a striker to get into the box, he should kick the ball with full power. Later, Mahjong thinks about the World Management app, where he has only been active for a few months, but it was the first platform to recognize his talent. He decides to log into the app and sees hundreds of messages waiting for him, but one message from Bubash catches his attention. He blocks it right away, thinking it might be from a fake account. The very next day, at the Bolton training grounds, Mahjong holds a practice match within the team to test everyone's skills. During the match, he tells Delicate that he will play as an attacking midfielder, but Delicate protests, saying he has never even played as a defensive midfielder before. Then Mahjong tells Owen that he will work together with Chong-ah as a frontline striker during the game. The match begins, and Mahjong notices that Chong-ah's tactic of breaking through the defense line is in sync with Owen's pass, but he isn't sure yet if it will actually work in a real game. Meanwhile, Delicate feels nervous because there are so many things he has to worry about in his position, and he wonders if he can handle all the pressure and successfully move the ball forward. At the same time, Owen thinks the team's attack looks like a mess since there aren't enough players, and he can't just stand and watch from a distance. He tries to move, but Mahjong quickly shouts at him not to, telling him to stay completely still until the pass arrives. 2 days later, it is the 31st round of the league and the day of the Bolton vs Salopia match that everyone has been waiting for. With only 20 minutes into the match and early in the game, Salopia is already ahead at their home stadium and winning, and everyone from the audience starts cursing at Mahjong. Mahjong then decides and chooses to send Owen into the match to play and change things around, but the other team's player thinks and believes that Mahjong is stupid and making a mistake for making a substitution when they are only halfway through the first half of the game. Owen has been a reserve player after a long-term injury that kept him out for a while and stopped him from playing, and he was recently called up to the first team, so everyone is looking forward to his return match and excited to see him play again after so long. The match then continues on the field with Owen getting the ball in his possession, but the other team's player pushes Owen aside roughly and steals the ball from him easily and takes control. The match then continues and keeps going, and Bolton's player named Park falls hard on the ground after contact, and because of him and that foul Bolton gets a penalty kick opportunity to score a goal. Mahjong then calls Owen and tells him that he did well, as it looks much better than when they trained, but Owen wonders if he is just mocking him. Owen wonders that since the sub, his performance so far has been no different than proving that he is practically done as a player. Hearing that, Owen gets angry and says that all he did was stand still, so how can he even exchange passes at that point? Mahjong tells Owen that every pass he received today was good, except for Quick's bad pass and the aerial balls. He explains that whenever he gets a pass, he doesn't need to give anyone a chance to steal it, he should just kick it immediately with one touch. Mahjong also tells Owen not to worry about what the audience thinks because even if they danced commando here, their words wouldn't change anything. He tells Owen to trust him, even if he doesn't trust himself, and then Owen goes back onto the field to take a free kick. He shoots, but instead of the ball reaching Park, who was running to get it, it goes straight to the goalkeeper. He thinks that the play where Park breaks through the defensive wall looks like it was prepared by the team owner as a secret tactic, but now it seems to have failed. However, just 3 minutes later, Bolton gets another long-range free kick, but the ball is blocked by the defensive wall again. The match continues, and soon another player intercepts Park's leg, making him fall. The referee then calls a free kick, and it seems like this will be Bolton's last attack of the first half. Right after that, Owen takes a shot, and the ball goes straight into the basket, surprising everyone watching. Afterward, a few days ago, at the Bolton's training ground, Mahjong's friend tells him that he is good at crafting normal tactics, but he thinks that there is something wrong with him lately. Mahjong tells him to watch Owen, and when Owen throws a kick, Mahjong's friend says that it's not bad since their set-piece tactics are limited. He doesn't think it's going to be easy if they fail their first attempt. It would be nice if Changda scores in one go. Mahjong says that his friend is right because if they don't succeed the first time, there won't be a second chance, but this time he is determined to keep trying until they get it right. Back in the present, Mahjong admits that he didn't expect Owen to shoot through such a narrow gap and realizes that Owen is even better than he thought. His friend comments that even if there was a gap, the trajectory of that goal was completely ridiculous. Later, the second half begins with Bolton on the offense, and the team's morale is high after Owen's amazing goal at the end of the first half. The opposing team's coach is furious and can't believe that they are actually losing to a team like Bolton. After that play, Delicate passes the ball to Owen to give him a chance, but then Owen finds and sees the center empty and open, so he quickly shoots the ball with power, and the ball goes straight into the net and scores. Finally, and at last, Mahjong's team wins the match and gets the victory, and all the reporters start to congratulate Mahjong for his comeback victory despite many concerns and doubts people had about him. The reporters ask him and question that before the game started, most people were predicting Salopia's victory and expecting them to win, so does he feel disappointed as a director about those predictions? Mahjong says and responds that it was fun as he is a person who likes to break expectations and prove people wrong, and he thinks and believes that their 2 wins will improve his evaluation and how people see him as a director. One of the reporters asks Mahjong about today's game, pointing out that Owen barely moved between the center circle and the penalty arc, so even though the lineup listed him as a striker, they want to know what his actual position was. Mahjong explains that he didn't give Owen a specific position, but instead created a new one called the turret. 2 days later, Mahjong is busy in his office doing calculations for sales and other things, but then he suddenly gets an idea that they should start making merchandise and goods, which could bring in a lot of profit. When Mahjong's friends hear this, they assume he wants to make merchandise featuring players like Owen, but when he says he wants to make goods about himself, they think he has gone a little crazy. Afterward, Mahjong calls everyone to have a meeting on merchandise, and the office manager wonders if Mahjong is going to push for Owen after that one comeback match. He further wonders that there's no response from Wanderers yet and there's no guarantee he will be able to play in the next matches. Just then, a girl whispers that Mahjong is going to sell his own merchandise, which freaks him out as who even likes him enough for them to sell his goods. Just then, Mahjong arrives and the office manager asks if it's true that today's meeting topic is the owner's merchandise production. When Mahjong says yes, the office manager loses his mind and says that he can't just let this production go and make his own merchandise. Sometime later, Mahjong resumes the meeting and tells everyone that the officer manager has resigned due to some personal issues. Mahjong then realizes that his executive manager is in support of his idea, but then he turns to head of marketing for her opinion on this topic. She gets scared right away and says that he really is a rising star owner who represents Bolton, but she isn't sure if the way he is getting popular will actually help with their sales. Mahjong then turns to Emma and asks for her opinion and what she thinks about the situation, and she says and tells him that if they go forward with this plan, there will be full-on protests demanding that the owner step down and leave his position. Mahjong asks and questions how many letters they have received from angry fans, and the guy answers and responds that it is about half the number compared to last week, but when the marketing head reads them carefully, she realizes and discovers that most of the letters are filled with swear words and even threats against Mahjong. Mahjong then says and explains that even that kind of hate and anger can be turned into profit if they use it smartly to make their own merchandise and sell products based on the negative attention. The next day after the victory, Mahjong's friend enters the convenience store and finds out and discovers that Mahjong's merchandise has been sold out completely after people invaded the store 2 hours after the sale started and bought everything. Earlier before this happened and took place, Mahjong told everyone and explained to them that merchandise is a way to materialize fondness for something and keep it as a memory and reminder, and Mahjong plans and intends to turn all the hate of his fans into a way to increase his reach more and get more attention and publicity for himself. After that marketing plan and strategy, Mahjong makes the head of marketing do a deoctic challenge where she is going to beat up his own picture and destroy it on camera for everyone to see, and with that video getting posted online, numerous Wanderers and people began responding to the challenge and joining in with their own videos where they also destroy his picture. At the 32nd round of the league, Crew Victoria, just before the end of the second half, as Owen scored a fantastic free-kick goal, Mahjong wins his bet against the Wanderers by winning 3 times in a row. With 6 games left in the league, Bolton progresses to the 19th place and Mahjong's image soon improved in front of the world. Mahjong thinks that his image improved, the merchandise sales began to decrease. He thinks and realizes that the point difference from 21st place, which is a relegation zone and dangerous area, is only 5 points, so they cannot be too sure if they are completely safe yet from getting relegated, and above all that, when Changa and Owen ended up leaving once each due to injuries that took them out, the team was more shaken than he expected it would be. Later that day after practice, Mahjong visits Owen, who is training some kind of falling technique and working on his body control, and Mahjong says and explains that this is to develop his core strength to be able to withstand pressure from defenders, and also to develop skills to fall safely so he can avoid injuries and stay healthy for the team. On their way, Emma starts yapping again, but Mahjong isn't annoyed but thankful to see her always taking care of him like this, and if he compares it with his life in Korea, where he was treated like a bother, he thinks he is having a lot more fun right now. Just then, they arrive and Emma reminds him one more time that he should go through with the interview exactly as they planned before. But Mahjong starts thinking that if the effect of his trolling style on the merchandise sales has already died down, then maybe there is no harm in acting calm and just doing what he's told for once. During the interview, he begins speaking the way they practiced, but then he suddenly changes his tone and says the complete opposite. He tells the opposing team's coach that he can't act calm and collect like him right now. Meanwhile, the other team's coach is sitting in his car where his assistant tells him that Mahjong seems like an attention seeker. However, the coach says that he never overestimated Mahjong as he just wanted to be more cautious based on what he has shown them so far. Later at the Bolton Stadium, the match starts with a long pass to another team's player Batista, who is a defender. Seeing that, Mahjong thinks that Batista is pretty good. And it seems like he's the one assigned to Owen, but he's showing quite an influence on the game. Furthermore, Mahjong thinks that there were instances when the previous teams assigned a player to Owen too. Mahjong also thinks that Batista's defense is impeccable and he cleanly avoids fouls as he is also doing a good job with the build-up and is basically doing more than just marking Owen. On the other hand, Owen manages to kick the ball before losing his balance, but the ball goes to Park, already struggling with a player on the other team. Mahjong thinks that improvements are something Park has to work on for the rest of his life, which means they have to seize more opportunities for him to grow. Mahjong thinks that their opponent is using formation 4-1-4-1, which maximizes midfield balance. 5 minutes before the end of the first half and Bolton's making their first substitute and Mahjong is using the replacement card early this time. Delicate is out and Floyd is in the match, who is a centre-back who's good at forward dribbling with his quick feet. Seeing that, the other team's coach thinks that Mahjong already has Owen, who's close to being a fake striker, so why on earth would he add Floyd on top of that? He thinks that according to their analysis, Floyd is a player who can't do a cross and he wouldn't be compatible with slow. Meanwhile on the field, Floyd misses a shot and he once again drives from the center because the offense combination using Precise and Park is currently blocked and not working. Floyd then starts dribbling using both feet to move forward with the ball, but the other team's player Joshua quickly blocks Floyd and gets in his way, so then Floyd passes the ball to Park to keep possession, but another member of the other team steals it and takes control. Seeing that happen on the field, Mahjong thinks and realizes that it is all going according to his plan, as Floyd dribbled for only 5 minutes, yet in that period of time, he managed to create notable chances and opportunities twice for the team. So, this is why and the reason that even if it is a short time, he insisted on subbing Floyd in 5 minutes before halftime to make an impact on the game. Afterward, they get 3 minutes of extra time in the first inning and Floyd keeps showing a series of turnovers and disastrous decisions. However, the scores for both teams remain at 0-0. They now enter halftime with the game in a tie and everyone is disappointed with Floyd, as they thought he would show them something but he didn't. Floyd thinks that every time a turnover is recorded, it reminds him of a long time ago, which were his younger days as a striker. After becoming a defender, he promised himself that he would never make the same mistakes again, but the moment he is brought back as a striker after a long time, he ends up falling into the same problem. Floyd feels like he can't look at Mahjong directly because Mahjong trusted him, put him into the game, and yet he still could not meet the expectations placed on him. Mahjong asks him why he didn't take the shot and why he didn't try the roving pass when he had the chance. Then Mahjong's expression changes and he tells Floyd that his dribbling today is actually very good, and that if he just leaves the final scoring touch to someone who is better at finishing, then they still have a real shot at winning this match. Mahjong encourages him even more by telling him to let go of the heavy pressure he is carrying and show everyone that being a striker is not only about scoring goals, but also about helping the team in the way only he can. After that, the match starts, and Mahjong turns to his friend Hee-won and asks if he knows why the other team is so focused on Floyd. Hee-won answers that it is because Floyd made a few good chances in the first half, even though he ended up messing up at the end of those plays. Mahjong then explains that no matter how strong a defensive plan is, keeping it up for all 90 minutes is a whole different challenge, since how well someone can stay focused depends on how tired they are physically. He also realizes that the other team must have trained their tactics mainly to block Owen and Changa before the game, but now Floyd is suddenly playing well too, so Mahjong wonders if the coaches have also told their defenders to watch Floyd closely and keep him under control as well. After that play, Owen shoots a shot at the goal, but the goalkeeper manages to block it and saves it from going in, and this surprises Floyd because Owen was struggling in the first half and now he is playing like a maniac and full of energy. The ball then gets back to Owen after the block, and everyone's attention is on him and watching him closely, and that scares Hee-won, who is nervous, but Mahjong tells him to look at it carefully and pay attention to what happens. However, Owen quickly passes the ball to Floyd instead of shooting himself, and all those defensive players who were stuck to Owen are now following Floyd again and switching their focus. Then the match continues and keeps going, and Floyd gets closer to the goal and moves forward, and he quickly passes the ball to Owen, which surprises everyone watching because they did not expect that move at all. The cheers and applause from the fans in the stands are extremely joyful and happy with excitement. They successfully scored that goal during the match. At the Gillingham coaching staff press conference, there is discussion concluding the Gillingham vs Bolton match result. The match with Bolton ends with a score of 1-0 final. This result has put an end to his 5-game winning streak in the tournament previously. This loss comes while he is at his best form. A reporter asks if he is disappointed about the loss. The coach of the Gillingham team is flustered by the question asked. He does not want to admit defeat in public honestly. Bruin takes advantage of the momentum and speaks frankly in front of the camera directly. Of course, it is not luck that I decided this. They prepared everything to the best of their ability to prepare for the match with Bolton thoroughly. The players also used all their abilities and followed his strategy very well completely. A reporter stands up and asks what he thinks is the reason for this failure outcome. He does not want to answer directly to them. Those who watch today's match must already know the answer obviously. The match with Bolton at this time shows clearly that failure is due to the difference in the coach's strategic ability between them. Standing in front of the camera and the public audience, Bruin reveals a smug expression showing. He thinks to himself that he has learned a lot from this experience. If Mahjong is serious about Locke going back to Wagon, then this is the opportunity he does not want to miss at all. Or maybe he does not have confidence in himself. Because he does not have confidence that he will be noticed by Wagon team. If that is the case, Mahjong guesses not only Wagon, but Bolton does not need him either at all. This turns out to be a waste of his time completely. This is a very strong psychological blow from Mahjong directly. It attacks Locke's dream of returning to Wagon directly and personally. This will make him have to take the time to think about it seriously. Locke takes the business card in his hand and ponders the offer. What Mahjong just said hits him hard, and honestly, he can't deny that it's not wrong at all. If he really wants to go back to the Wagon team, then he knows deep down that he can't let this opportunity slip away while it's right in front of him. Every single word Mahjong said seems to weigh on him mentally, making him question his own confidence. Mahjong asks if he doesn't believe in himself, and whether he's worried that Wagon might refuse to take him back again. While he's still completely confused and torn about the dilemma of joining the opposing team, his wife reaches out and takes his hand. Her name is Ariana, and her warm smile lights up his moment of doubt, giving him a sense of calm. She knows that, for now, all she can do is comfort him emotionally, and she softly tells him that she trusts he will make the right decision in the end, even as she admits to herself that Mahjong's offer actually seems quite reasonable. Although, she has to admit that the way he speaks is a bit rigid and rude sometimes. After the decision to disband the 8th team officially, Locke searched for all the information to find teams that he could join professionally. However, just like that person said, he is not welcome by other teams anywhere. Even so, he cannot give up trying. He remembers Mahjong's words again clearly. Mahjong asked if he is really going to work in the factory for the rest of his life forever. Or does he want to go back to being a soccer player again? That is right about everything. He finally finds out his only desire truly. It is not to join Wagon specifically, but he still wants to be a soccer player professionally. Being rejected so straightforwardly by Locke, Mahjong becomes irritated and annoyed. Just like what he once said before, Locke is really weird acting. How dare a person on the 8th team reject him boldly? Valuing him like this, Locke should kneel on the floor and beg gratefully. If he comes to Bolton team, Mahjong will train him even more strictly than Chang'e receives. The next morning arrives and everyone gathers on the soccer field together. There are a few spectators watching the practice. Floyd is dribbling the ball through the enemy formation skillfully. Someone shouts to pay attention carefully. Floyd is coming from behind quickly, so they should cut him off before he gets the ball possession. Messiah stands in front of Floyd and smiles confidently at him. He says he will block him successfully. He looks like an experienced player clearly. But Floyd does not flinch at all, intimidated. He looks at his opponent very seriously focused. Immediately, Floyd sways in the right direction, but kicks the ball to the left side. Someone questions if this is a feint move. But Messiah smirks knowingly because he has seen Floyd dribble countless times before. He can read his movements easily. He knows it is this direction exactly. He moves his foot in the right direction of the ball movement, but Floyd continues to sway the ball and goes through his legs surprisingly. He suddenly stands still like a frozen statue. With Floyd's level of footwork skill, even though he had seen it many times before, he was still fooled. That is Floyd's ability showing. The entire stadium cheers loudly for Floyd's skill. Someone questions if he is actually an international player level. Another person says it is great performance. They tell him to play like that in official matches consistently. The atmosphere of the expanded training camp has improved a lot recently. Before they were all cursing at them angrily. That kid Floyd has improved because his soccer skills have improved a lot recently noticeably. But it is getting harder and harder to stop his opponent effectively. Mahjong realizes he needs to strengthen each of the defenses even more properly. He thinks about Floyd and Chang'e together, and if only they could both improve their shooting abilities significantly, they would be great players potentially. Mahjong says to his friend that he has heard of the muscle stiffness syndrome caused by mental pressure that prevents players from performing as well as usual expected. 2 days later, Mahjong calls Daniel and questions whether Mahjong's plan to include children in the staff experience program is truly necessary. He mentions that while the club has been struggling with staff recruitment recently, he remains doubtful about how young kids can actually contribute to solving their problems. Mahjong dismisses Daniel's concerns entirely and explains his actual motivation behind this initiative. He clarifies that the purpose is not about getting children to perform work duties. Instead, his goal focuses on developing these young participants into dedicated Bolton Wanderers supporters for the future. Mahjong points out the intense enthusiasm he observes in one particular child who is desperately begging adults for another chance at the prize wheel. His strategy involves teaching these passionate young fans about the club's rich history and heritage. Through hands-on staff experiences, the children develop strong emotional connections and loyalty to Bolton Wanderers. Mahjong describes this approach as essentially providing early education that transforms them into lifelong dedicated fans. He also explains that attracting children requires offering immediate physical rewards during their participation. Mahjong displays several complimentary match tickets with confidence. Children who join the experience program receive free tickets to attend actual games. Daniel feels shocked by what seems like an incredibly risky business decision. He questions Mahjong about the apparent financial loss that results from distributing free tickets. Mahjong explains his clever marketing strategy. He asks Daniel whether he believes children attend matches completely alone. Obviously, parents or guardians need to accompany them to the stadium. Mahjong emphasizes that while children receive free tickets, the accompanying adults definitely need to purchase tickets at regular prices. If parents refuse to go, their children become upset and disappointed. This leaves guardians with essentially only one realistic choice, which is buying tickets and attending together. The free children's tickets function merely as strategic bait, creating an appealing incentive that attracts at least one paying adult customer per child. Daniel begins to recognize that this strategy actually seems quite practical and effective. A staff member guides the first group of young participants and turns on the room's lighting. Bright light floods the space, revealing Bolton's extensive collection of awards and trophies displayed throughout. The children appear extremely excited and eager. Their eyes sparkle brightly as if they discover wonderful presents. The staff member explains that this office contains trophies representing Bolton Wanderers' complete historical legacy. He points out various artifacts including the uniform worn by the league's leading scorer during the 1905-2006 season and the cleats belonging to the top scorer from 1955 to 1956. The most recent championship trophy from Bolton's league victory is also prominently displayed. The club wins the second division during the 1909-1910 seasons and also secures first place during the 1996-1997 seasons. Each league competition follows similar programs to the current EFL structure. The children receive 10 minutes of free exploration time with one important rule. Touching any items results in losing 50 points. The young participants immediately rush around excitedly to examine legendary shoes and balls that have been used in actual matches while taking photographs beside championship trophies. Mahjong requests materials for printing photographs. He understands that children want to show their parents what they accomplished during their experience. Parents feel proud seeing pictures of their children at the stadium. Mahjong suggests displaying these photographs throughout Bolton Stadium, which gives parents another compelling reason to visit. If parents come to see their children's photos but refuse to purchase match tickets, they might feel guilty about being inadequate parents. Daniel acknowledges that this plan seems absolutely crazy. However, he notices that Mahjong's strategy is developing very successfully. Everything is progressing exactly as Mahjong predicts. Although using children as bait appears manipulative, Daniel has to admit the man might be crazy. Despite his reservations, Daniel chuckles because the results prove extremely positive. He hangs the pictures up and looks very satisfied. He thinks Mahjong is truly a businessman who only understands profit. Eventually, the children slip straight into the tent that Mahjong often uses for living. They call out his name repeatedly and look quite happy. One child asks about the tent in the room and wants to know what Mahjong does there. Mahjong is eating instant noodles as usual. He explains that he eats tactics and sleeps inside the tent. The children's eyes light up with excitement and one little kid asks if he can sleep there too. Mahjong looks at the child and explains that the tent is cramped and he is tall. No matter how small the child might be, there is not enough room for another person. The young boy becomes very excited and claims he is good at sleeping while standing up. He promises to curl up in a corner. Mahjong raises his voice and tells the child that sleeping like that prevents proper growth. He decides to get another tent so the child can sleep normally. The boy asks if this is really true. He grows more and more excited about being there and says he wants to sleep with Mahjong. Mahjong feels quite annoyed but cannot do anything about the situation. He concludes a philosophy in his mind. These kids have the right to admire him freely, but they should not become adults like him. On the day of the 42nd round of the league, Bolton faces Lincoln at their home stadium, the University of Bolton Stadium. The children experience the feeling of becoming staff members. They carry tickets everywhere and ask adults if they need any tickets. All the adults seem surprised and ask if the children are helping at the ticket booth. However, they all happily purchase 2 tickets each. Mahjong observes the audience and notices that the crowd is quite large today. He wonders if this is the effect of young human resources working. Everything progresses just as expected. Daniel comments that Mahjong is good at squeezing others dry. Mahjong feels like this is a compliment and explains it is still too early to be amazed. What he earns now is just the initial investment. Thanks to the memories created today, the kids grow up and become loyal wanderers. In that way, the club has a loyal fan base that helps increase the long-term value. Mahjong does not intend to wait until then though. After confirming that the team maintains first place in the EFL, once he gathers a huge audience, he plans to sell the club for a sky-high price. Many people participate, and there are also many parents who bring their children. However, among them, a man wearing a black tracksuit and a hat steps forward. He looks up briefly and reveals his identity as Locke. He immediately pulls his head down, not wanting others to recognize him. From his distant seat, he hears the commentary of the match. A counterattack opportunity develops for the Lincoln team. The Lincoln striker breaks through and makes a direct pass to Maurice, but the attempt is unsuccessful. The Bolton defender successfully blocks the ball. This season, the 2 Lincoln strikers combine to score a total of 20 goals, but today they are not able to overcome Bolton team's defense. The match grows more and more tense. The clock reaches the 60th minute, but Lincoln has not scored any points. It seems that a change in tactics is necessary to turn the tide of the match. Locke sits in the audience and watches with attention. Bolton blocks everything with passes, tackles, and long balls. It seems that their playing style predicts all of the opponent's attacks. Owen takes a long shot and the ball flies high into the sky. Aaron receives the pass cleanly. The Lincoln defenses are already in position and they do not let him pass easily. Mason quickly runs past the defense and it seems like he is waiting for a pass. The Lincoln defenders are surprised and wonder what he is doing. He dares to go straight in and someone shouts about who is marking him. He rushes straight in but is still able to outpace the opponent. He completely escapes the marker and is directly entering the left wing. The defenders quickly clamp down on him and surround him. They have to block their path. Even so, the defenders forget that the person holding the ball is Aaron and a path without any obstacles appears before Owen. Following the victory, the press seizes the opportunity to interview Mahjong. A reporter asks about the secret behind the team's success over Lincoln. Mahjong confidently shares his tactical approach and explains that Lincoln decides to focus on defense rather than attack using the zonal marking system. This system helps players narrow their defensive range significantly. If a team thinks too much about controlling stability between the lines, penetrating that defense becomes impossible. Therefore, to disrupt Lincoln's formation, Mahjong instructs his players to attack the opponent's defense continuously. He describes it as kind of like a seesaw game. The reporter does not understand and asks for further explanation. Mahjong elaborates that Aaron first attacks the right wing, which leaves the left wing empty. Then, to widen the gap between the defenders, the team instructs Mason to run up half a beat slower than planned. Before that moment, the Lincoln team focused on protecting the central areas well and the defenders did not give Owen any space at all. However, when winger Mason suddenly rushes straight into their defense, holding the formation is not easy anymore. The defenders have to rush to block Mason and that action creates a gap in the middle area. Owen takes that opportunity to score the goal. Locke watches Mahjong's interview and thinks about what he observes. He originally thought Mahjong was crazy, but it turns out the coach is quite sober, although still a rude guy in Locke's opinion. The reporter continues to ask about the number of players on the team and mentions that although the team wins against Lincoln, the absence of a defender due to injury is a considerable concern. The reporter thinks there is a difference between the reserve players and the new ones. He asks if Mahjong has any plans to recruit free players to strengthen the reserve team. Mahjong replies that he will recruit new people, but he will not add anyone to the team due to time pressure. His standards are not only based on the player's reputation or past achievements. Instead, he wants someone who can bring Bolton to victory, and he will do everything in his power to find that person. After hearing this statement, Locke ponders Mahjong's words for a long time. He thinks about being a player who will win and decides to give it a try. Soon after this interview, the announcement of the Bolton team signing Locke as a striker becomes public news. Due to not having much information available, the fans raise suspicions immediately. After Locke's detailed profile is released, everyone laughs and feels dissatisfied with this decision because Locke is only an 8th-tier player. Inside the club's building, Locke swaggers around confidently because he is now a member of the organization. Then he accidentally bumps into someone during his walk. That person not only does not apologize but also wants to curse at Locke. However, Locke's terrifying expression makes him shut his mouth immediately. They continue walking and chatting as if nothing happened between them. The two people whisper to each other, but it is not significant because Locke hears everything they say. They mention that he has a history of assault and that Mahjong is crazy to recruit him to the team. At that time, in the middle of the training ground, the weather feels as hot as an oven. Everyone is actively training under the shouts of the coach. Mahjong scolds loudly and tells the players they are only good at becoming targets. When they play the whole game, they have to jump even more and brace themselves. This movement not only enhances jumping ability but also helps strengthen every movement. If players persevere, in the future, they may even become as fast as an arrow. Locke thinks to himself while practicing that this is the 20th time. He thought training would be more difficult, but he does not expect it to be this harsh. As soon as he becomes distracted, Locke practices the wrong posture, and of course, it cannot escape the eyes of Coach Mahjong. Mahjong immediately scolds him and tells him to land with both feet at the same time. He asks why Locke keeps lifting one foot up. Locke immediately listens obediently under Mahjong's scolding and promises he will not lift it up. However, in his heart, he is cursing and thinking this guy must be crazy. It is no wonder his image in front of the journalists is all fake. At this moment, Mahjong suddenly takes off his shirt, showing off his beer belly. However, Mahjong feels very proud of himself. He announces he cannot stand it anymore and it is time for this body to act. He tells everyone to look and learn from him. Locke looks at Mahjong, who is shaking while instructing him, and thinks about why he has to take off his shirt. He wonders what Mahjong wants to show them and concludes the coach is even crazier than he originally thought. Mahjong suddenly turns and asks Locke if he wants to go out on the field for the upcoming match. Locke feels very surprised and mentions he has only been there for less than a week. Mahjong responds that he thinks Locke's skills are still in the 8th tier and tells him he is too good at belittling himself. Mahjong threatens that he is not going to train Locke's body to the 3rd tier. If Locke does not complete this exercise until the end, Mahjong will put his name on the official list for the next match. Locke is, of course, very panicked and thinks this crazy guy is serious. By the time the sky turns a fiery red sunset, the exercise finally ends. The players lie sprawled on the ground exhausted. Locke is panting and tired while thinking that training has already consumed a lot of effort and Mahjong keeps babbling nonsense in his ear. He must be joking about wanting Locke to play in the next match. The remaining members of the club also do not like Locke at all. They say sarcastic words and tell him not to think that joke is real. They claim he deliberately does not practice until the last exercise, even though the club owner has problems with his head. They insist Mahjong cannot do that and call Locke pathetic. At this time, Floyd sees someone who surprises him very much. He greets Changa and asks how the injury is. He wants to know if Changa can run yet. Changa smiles and says that he can even participate in the next match. This is the first time Locke sees Changa in person. He was once criticized for receiving special treatment and because of his nationality, he has a position on the team. However, then he becomes the mainstay of the team and goes against everyone's expectations. Locke looks closely at everyone around him and realizes they are all monsters of the football industry. He thinks Mahjong is going to choose him instead of these people and concludes it is like dreaming. Thinking about it more, it seems like a joke to him. Just then, a hand pats Locke on the shoulder. Someone tells him that the one just earlier was Victor, who always looks for trouble whenever someone new comes to the club. It is Captain Dignity speaking to him. Dignity intends to tell Locke about the next team opponent, but it seems that Locke already knows who they are. Dignity mentions that the coach will not force him to participate. Locke realizes the upcoming opponent is the Wagon team. Sounds come from the club's bathroom and changing room where Locke is showering. He thinks to himself while water runs over him. Even though he agrees to sign the contract, it does not mean he becomes a true Bolton member automatically. He has lived under the Wagon label for over 20 years now. It is not easy for him to change his way of thinking like that overnight. In such a situation, he has to meet Wagon in the first match, which is really a nuisance. Locke believes that Mahjong probably understands this complicated situation. If Mahjong really wants Bolton to win, he will not let Locke play against his former team. Locke knows that fact, but he really misses the feeling of running on the field. To set foot there again, he has to improve more than his current level. While thinking and walking through the facility, Locke suddenly notices something strange and unexpected. This discovery is so shocking that he drops his bag and his mouth opens wide in surprise. On the notice board, the list of the official starting lineup displays his name clearly. When the official starting lineup of the two teams, Wagon and Bolton, becomes available, Locke's name appears on the board with the position of striker. Locke wonders what this means and cannot believe the coach really chooses him, as he really does not understand the decision at all. Even if the coach's brain short-circuits, the two teams, Wagon and Bolton, do not have very good relations with each other. However, when compared in terms of ranking, the two teams are not even opponents of each other. Wagon currently ranks third in EFL 1 and qualifies as a strong team. Bolton does not deserve to be placed side by side for comparison purposes. Usually, the teams in first and second place will of course play in the English Premier League, and the teams ranked third to sixth have to compete to win the final promotion spot. Because the Wagon team is currently 2 points behind the second place team, Plymouth, they are definitely determined to win the remaining matches. Just 4 days after Locke arrives here, this situation happens and they want him and another member to play too. Locke really does not know what Mahjong is thinking about. At this time, Mahjong, who is also in the room, thinks that the biggest revenue for them comes from the audience attendance. Richard asks again whether it is for profit that Mahjong lets Locke play in the match. Mahjong nods his head in agreement. He confirms that it is correct and for profit. He plans to take advantage of this strange relationship between Wagon and Bolton. For example, the match between the teams in the Manchester area provides a good comparison. The football match between Manchester Blue Moon and Manchester Red Devils has always been a major topic. Not only fans, but the football fan community has a certain interest in them as well. Because they are in Manchester, they will hold a small competition in Manchester before the actual match. Before the match begins, the competition between Bolton and Wagon becomes even more intense than before. At that time, Locke, a person who was once a member of the Ashes, played as a Bolton player. Then it would be no different from fueling the fire with gasoline. This is a golden opportunity to create a big explosion of interest. Richard hears this explanation and ponders for a while, then asks another question. However, Bolton and Wagon are not local rivals of each other in the first place. He wonders if that will bring profits as expected by Mahjong. Above all, reports indicate that Locke's level has not caught up with the EFL 1 matches yet. Based on the information above, as a coach, Richard suspects there is another reason besides profit. Being hit right on the nail, Mahjong smiles broadly. Sure enough, Richard is worthy of being the CEO because he understands Mahjong better than his 20-year friend. Mahjong admits Richard is right about everything. Mahjong wants him to check the remaining reason in the stadium himself during the match. Very quickly, it becomes the day of the match at the stadium, which serves as the home stadium of the Wagon team. Fatten tilts his head back and drains a can of energy drink completely. Then he cheers loudly and shouts that Bolton is too great and they can do it. He also yells that the Wagon fans should get lost. A Wagon fan sitting next to him shows his negative attitude immediately. He criticizes the nonsense and considers the standards of their team and coach. He claims the fans are the same quality. He knows full well that Bolton cannot succeed, but the team still crawls to get promoted without knowing where their actual position is. Fatten looks uncomfortably at the person next to him with annoyance. Then he opens his mouth and curses that the other person has no standards whatsoever. Immediately, the other person is not to be outdone and punches Fatten directly in the face. An angry teammate supports Fatten by shouting loudly that those despicable Ashes supporters are hitting people. He tells everyone to stop standing there and commands his brothers to rush up together. Then the two sides rush in and tear each other apart violently. Someone yells to die and calls them all bastards. Unexpectedly, Mahjong appears suddenly and shouts to come on and cheer for the Wanderers. This makes his friend very upset, and the friend scolds Mahjong by asking if he is still cheering right now. The friend mentions seriously that he told Mahjong to be gentle with the reporters. He asks why Mahjong talks nonsense and makes the situation worse than before. Mahjong replies blankly and asks what he does wrong. It turns out that on the day before the match, the coach's interview of the Bolton Wanderers team takes place with reporters. Jong-woo states to the reporter that they are a strong team, and even so, he does not intend to lose easily at all. He announces that Lok will be the player to play in tomorrow's match. Only it is not under the name of an Ashes member, but as a Wanderer instead. If everyone wants to criticize Lok, who returns to Bolton from Wagon, that is fine, because when Lok scores goals, everyone should thank Ashes instead of complaining about the situation. Moreover, in the end, Wagon chooses the wrong move when they let Lok leave the team, and Bolton is right to accept him as a player. Back in the present moment, Mahjong triumphantly says to his friend and asks if he cannot act properly. Of course, everything is planned carefully by Mahjong. He asks if his friend cannot hear the audience cheering all over the stadium. This is only the Wagon team's field, but it is already so crowded with people. Mahjong asks his friend to imagine this is a live broadcast. They only need to manage the broadcast costs, and nobody else besides Mahjong will do that job. The friend feels a little moved by this explanation and replies that the assessment is not wrong. The next second, the two men are startled because something is thrown at Mahjong's head. An overexcited fan curses him and calls him a bastard. The fan threatens that if Mahjong loses today, he should not blame the fan for sending him to meet his ancestors early. Mahjong angrily curses back and calls the fan a pervert. He threatens to send the fan to meet his grandparents right now and tells him to come here if he dares. Looking at the chaotic scene on this side of the stadium, a man disdainfully clicks his tongue. He thinks that such a crazy person is recognized by Master Bruin, and he refuses to understand why. It turns out that he is the coach of the Wagon team, whose name is Gardner, and he continues to think about Coach Steve and decides he will personally prove the assessment is wrong by knocking that new coach down. At this time, the whistle rings loudly. The 43rd round of the season begins, and the match between the two teams starts immediately. Right after, a player rushes forward with a terrifying move as soon as it starts. He powerfully surpasses the opponent with skill. Perez dodges easily without much effort. Mahjong secretly assesses the situation and thinks Raheem Strong is a formidable player when ranking first in EFL 1. However, Floyd quickly blocks him from advancing. Although there is a big difference in physique between them, Strong still tries to balance himself. Floyd successfully defends against the opponent's pressure and wins the ball. The ball is passed to Dignity for the next play. Due to always maintaining a high ranking in EFL 1, their team has broken that tactic before. At this time, the player regains control and moves forward aggressively. Strong is breaking through Bolton's defense successfully. Another loss of possession occurs for Bolton. However, Bolton appears helpless against Wagon's powerful attack style. Someone is worried outside and thinks it does not look good at all. The difference in skills is greater than he originally thought it would be. The players' reactions also seem off, as if they have lost all confidence. Unexpectedly, Jong-woo laughs and asks his friend what he is saying. He points out there is still one person who is not affected at all by the pressure. The person from that tiny A-tier team is a proud and courageous individual. No matter if the opponent is a strong one or a former teammate, he remains confident. It turns out that when Lok finds out he is playing, he is surprised but makes up his mind. Even if he does not know why Mahjong makes this choice, if this is what Jong-woo wants, Lok will go all the way. Mahjong confidently states that Lok is simply a striker who likes to cause trouble and is extremely excited to play football. Sure enough, at this moment, there is no trace of self-doubt on Lok's face like his teammates display, but instead a proud smile. Lok used to feel very scared 13 years ago when Wagon was having a fun EFL long season. He still remembers himself as part of the Ashes organization. He was also a member of the Wagon youth team during that time. He remembers very clearly the mentality of challenging strong teams at the beginning of the tournament. Tactics that can catch the opponent completely off guard remain fresh in his memory. The ability of the players to turn those strategies into reality impressed him greatly. Lok, whose light has faded over time, now faces a difficult situation. He feels afraid of facing them and confronting the team he admired so much. However, Wagon is not as he used to admire them anymore. Lok believes he can do it without any problem at all. Continuing with the developments on the field, Descartes veers in from a difficult position on the pitch. Lok whispers while calculating his next move. The Wagon striker will be their trump card in this situation. Descartes is also complacent and thinks that their coach seems unusual compared to others. He He thought the opponent had something special, but they are just an ordinary low-ranking team. If they just pass the ball a few more times now, they will score immediately without much effort. Unexpectedly, while he is thinking about this, he hears his teammates call out to watch out on the left side. Descartes glances over in surprise at what he sees. Unexpectedly, Locke blocks his ball successfully. Locke is rushing towards Wagon's defender, whose name is Sergei Verba. Verba wearily looks at Locke approaching him. This player is going to kick through him for sure. Verba is sure Locke can dribble well and tells him to come forward now. Who would have thought that Locke would twist his body to make a deceptive move? Verba's face becomes blank, not knowing what is going on at all. The commentator bursts out excitedly and announces that Locke has passed Verba with a mental feint. Someone covers his face in surprise at the display. He wonders if that is Locke's natural talent showing through. At this rate, that ridiculous play is coming toward the goal. This represents a great scoring opportunity for Bolton. The goalkeeper also looks surprised at this developing situation. He wonders what Locke's shooting stance means. It appears as a very attractive stance worth remembering for the future. Locke shoots straight toward the goal with power, and everyone thinks that the bottom of the ball will hit the goal successfully. However, the ball is flying high into the air. Wagon's goalkeeper Samuel widens his eyes in disbelief. He jumps up and catches it cleanly. Did he predict that it was a valid kick coming his way? Seeing the ball being blocked, Locke angrily shouts in frustration. There is another person who feels equally shocked by the play. Gardner wonders who is the person who makes the unexpected shot. However, he quickly regains his composure after the surprise. He admits the kick is not too bad overall. However, what is this excessive posture that Locke displays? Is that someone who learned football at Wagon before? Gardner wonders if Locke is kidding him right now. Does Locke think Gardner appreciates discovering a player of that caliber level? It turns out that the day before, when Mahjong speaks on television in the office before the match, Gardner grumbles irritably about the situation. The man sitting next to him smiles faintly at Gardner's reaction. He tells Gardner not to be like that right now. He explains that Mahjong is an excellent coach who can come up with unpredictable tactics, although he seems to speak without thinking first. If Gardner lets his guard down, he will end up like this other coach. Gardner insists he does not let his guard down at that time. Then, from the other man's point of view, Gardner asks if that means the kid is better than him. The man remains silent for a moment when he hears that question. Then he says again that it would be difficult to admit honestly. He does not want to admit it either at all. So Gardner should answer himself with the result of the match. At this time, Gardner angrily clenches his hand into a fist. He thinks there is nothing much to see here. Of course, he is a better coach than that guy Mahjong. Gardner curses under his breath about the situation. At this time, Mahjong is also secretly thinking about Locke's performance. The person who was said to be useless before shows his ball path is not normal at all. With the referee's whistle, the first half ends with a score of 0-0. Mahjong inside the break room says loudly to his team. He tells everyone they did very well during the half. Although their dribbling and shooting efficiency has decreased overall, it cannot be denied that preventing Wagon's goal in the first half was an extremely great achievement. Thanks to it, they can now move on to the next stage. At this time, the scene switches to show a player's distorted face and pitiful cries. It has been more than 20 minutes since the second half started already. It seems that Bolton mistakes the Addrasil Arena for a campsite. A player has fallen down for the 6th time in these 20 minutes. The commentator thinks that they intend to stop the match by delaying instead of continuing play. Someone feels very touched at this time by the display. A Wagon player angrily shouts at the fallen player. He calls him useless waste and says he knows the player is okay. He tells him to get up quickly right now. The player looks scared and calls for help. He claims these people are threatening him on the field. Someone outside also grits his teeth in frustration. He finds it unbelievable and thinks about their tactics. He calls them names and wonders if they are going to win. Bolton can avoid being eliminated if this match ends with a draw result. However, the public will insult Wagon for not being able to win second place just because the opponent is rolling on the lawn. Someone wonders why Bolton is doing that strategy. Does Mahjong not care about his self-esteem as a coach anymore? Thinking of self-esteem and pride, he remembers the words someone said to him the day before. The person tells him to remember one important thing. Mahjong's strength does not only lie in his intuition when looking for players and tactics to catch the opponent off guard. The reason they see him as a threat is because to achieve his goals, he will use anything as he pleases without thinking twice. At Bolton's training ground a few days before the match takes place, Owen widens his eyes while lying on the ground as if dying and calls for help. Floyd coughs so hard that he seems about to be transferred to the hospital immediately. Locke blankly looks at the scene in front of him with confusion. He wonders if they call this actual training. All the players in front of him are lying on the grass and crying pitifully like injured people. At this time, Mahjong comes to him and asks whether he is going to practice properly or if he wants Mahjong to put him in the starting lineup. A moment later, Mahjong looks annoyed and asks this player about his lawn dribbling technique. Mahjong questions if Locke thinks it is okay to just act exaggerated without any plan like that. They cannot execute the lawn dribbling tactic with such complacent thoughts at all. Mahjong tells Locke to look and learn from his senior Victor here. Locke has to try his best like Victor does right now. Locke is immediately horrified to see Victor being pressed by Mahjong on the ground. It is because of that pressure that it hurts badly. Everyone angrily scolds Locke for what he is saying. They claim this does not just hurt Victor at all. Locke is insulting Victor and their team fortune, which is unforgivable. At this time, Mahjong guesses that Locke still does not understand the concept. If so, here is the explanation from his skilled teaching assistant, whose name is Park. Changa immediately looks serious and tells everyone to watch him carefully. He announces simulation number 17, which involves a violent football match situation by the attacking player of the opponent's team. Locke prepares to watch and scornfully thinks that lawn dribbling is the same anyway, right? However, in the next second, the situation in front of him widens his eyes in shock. Looking at Changa in so much pain, Locke does not know what is wrong with him at all. Although Changa acts a bit too much, it looks very natural to the point that it is hard to tell if he is acting. Locke thinks this player is really seriously injured while acting out the scene. This performance is beyond Locke's imagination completely. Then he suddenly realizes and understands the opponent's fierce attacking player scenario. This is amazing to this extent because even video assistant referee technology is fooled. Mahjong proudly smiles and asks how it looks. Even looking with his eyes, Locke still finds it very sophisticated, right? It is all thanks to Mahjong's meticulously planned training course. It is training that if people do not want to get better, they will not improve at all. Lawn dribbling does not only depend on the player's acting ability alone. The player can even decide where to fall after knowing Owen's favorite direct kick position on the field. Mahjong asks if this is great and explains he is aiming for a draw. This is not just lawn dribbling for show. Mahjong plans to win against Wagon using this strategy. Back to the present moment, Locke thinks about the situation. This is not funny at all because there is no other option available. Mahjong is putting all his effort into using lawn dribbling to defeat Wagon completely. Locke wonders if this is really happening right now. He tells himself okay and calls Mahjong a crazy guy. If Mahjong wants to win so much, as a part of the Ashes organization, Locke will step up and do it for him. At this time, the referee says to Dignity with displeasure about the situation. He asks if this is one of Dignity's players on the ground. The referee reminds Dignity that he is the captain of the team. He tells Dignity to do something about this problem. If this continues like this, they will have to add extra time to the match. Dignity hesitates and does not know what to say. Suddenly at this moment, Locke's mournful scream makes the two of them pay attention to something new. Locke shouts that his close friend Park is in trouble. He cries out asking if Park is okay right now. During halftime in the locker room, Mahjong asks Locke if he is feeling nervous, and Locke explains that he actually felt embarrassed while watching how he played in the first half. Mahjong then thinks to himself that Gardner must be distracted because of that flashy giraffe celebration earlier, since Gardner and his team have not been marking Locke at all after it happened. So, Mahjong believes that in the second half, Gardner is going to pay for underestimating him. When the second half starts, Locke makes a great move and slips past the defensive wall on the side, but the ball rolls a bit too far and is about to go out of bounds. Gardner becomes excited because he thinks they finally caught Locke at a weak moment, and he feels confident that it will be fine as long as the ball goes out. At the same time, Locke is thinking again that he is basically just a newcomer from the 8th division, and he feels like he is only running endlessly like a dog trying to reach the level of the players who were already on the team before him. Even so, Locke does not quit and he keeps sprinting straight toward the ball, and at the very last moment, he manages to take the shot. When the goalkeeper sees that, he becomes nervous because it is a cross kick that bends in the air, and the ball curves all the way into the net. After that, the match ends with Bolton winning, and Mahjong tells Locke that many people are praising the way he played today. A few days later, at the Bolton Wanderers Youth Staff Second Day Experience event, Mahjong talks to the group of people there and tells them about the recent victories Bolton has earned. One of the kids then asks Mahjong if he is going to take Bolton up to the EFL Challenger now, but one of Mahjong's friends thinks to himself that maybe Mahjong actually wants to keep Bolton running, then sell the team later, and leave the country looking silly. He feels that even if that is what Mahjong plans, Mahjong has gotten attached to the Wanderers and the people there, so it must be a hard situation for him inside. The next morning, Mahjong looks at the news headlines and sees that with 9 wins, 2 draws, and 4 losses, the public opinion about him is now much more positive than before. Also, the sales of their merchandise, which had been going down for a while, have stopped falling and are now holding steady. Later in the day, Mahjong goes to a local radio station, and the DJ introduces him, which makes Mahjong wonder what the DJ's problem is and why he is acting like that. Mahjong realizes that he always knew this guy liked the Wanderers, but he never thought the guy would act so clingy and follow him around this much. The DJ tries to move closer to Mahjong, but Mahjong hits him away, and after that, the DJ asks what Mahjong thinks about the match against Peterborough that comes right after the game with Wigan and ends in a draw. Mahjong explains that their players used every bit of their effort in the Wigan game because they wanted to win, so they had nothing left for the next one. In the end, Mahjong tells everyone that next season, their team is going to try for a promotion to the EFL Challenger. Later at the Bolton training ground, Mahjong and his friend have everyone doing endurance training, making the players run and push themselves. During this, Mahjong acts in a soft and playful way toward Owen, telling him that he is an important member of the team and that if he keeps working on strengthening his hamstring, he will definitely become an even better player in the future. Mahjong's friend then notices that there are reporters at the training field today, holding cameras and filming everything that is happening, and he starts to wonder if they are making some kind of documentary about Bolton. After thinking for a moment, he realizes that they really might be filming a documentary. Mahjong then walks over to Changa, who is in the middle of giving an interview, and he politely asks if Changa's training is going well. He also mentions that the hamstring injury Changa had last time is still a terrible memory for him. Hearing that, one of the reporters comments that Mahjong is actually quite gentle and caring with his players. On the other hand, a reporter named Kevin thinks to himself that Mahjong is just doing some silly act to try and make himself look good. Kevin secretly dislikes Mahjong a lot because he cannot accept how someone who used to work as a staff member in a low league somehow came to lead Bolton. While he is thinking this, Mahjong suddenly shows up right behind him, which makes Kevin panic and quickly run away in fear. After that, the day finally comes for the 45th round of the league where they will face the Blackpool team, and it is said that Blackpool has recently made an impressive record of winning 6 matches in a row. People also say that the main reason for their success is their coach, and that it all comes from the unique tactics made and used by Eric Rai. The match starts, and Mahjong's friend notices right away that the other team has changed their tactic again, since earlier they were mainly depending on counterattacks. The game keeps going and a player on the opposite side named Nadal receives the ball on his right foot, then he kicks a shot toward the goal, but the ball only barely flies over the crossbar. After seeing that close attempt, Mahjong's friend asks what Mahjong thinks of the other team, and Mahjong answers that he is already extremely scared. Mahjong's friend then realizes what Mahjong must be feeling because something like this has not happened before. It feels as if no matter which direction they try to attack from, they are blocked every time, almost like the other team is somehow reading and predicting all of their moves while the match is happening. Later, Mahjong realizes something and quickly tells someone to bring back his friend, Hee-won, as there is no need to prepare for the next game. Afterward, the other team ends the first half with a 1-0 lead and the players starts buttering their coach Rai, which annoys him. It turns out that the only reason the coach was able to achieve all this is because of the World Management app. The app was first introduced to him by his stupid nephew and he thought it was a site where shut-ins who played soccer with their mounts instead of their body gathered, but an anonymous user who posts tactics with the username Mad was different. The second half then begins and the coach still wonders that he is going to get his team into the EFL soon, but suddenly there is an announcement of goal from Bolton that surprises him. On the other hand, Hee-won asks Mahjong how he managed to pull everything off, and Mahjong explains that Rai had been copying the tactics he posted on the community back when he was active as Mad, and the thing is, those tactics were never designed for the 3rd division, they were all made to fit the strengths and weaknesses of the teams he used them with before. Later, the other team's coach decides to try the tactic they had practiced last time, only to realize that it was another strategy created by Mad. After that, Owen gets the ball, but almost immediately, players from the opposing team surround him on all four sides, trying to take it away. In the end, Owen loses the ball under pressure, and one of the opposing players grabs it and starts running toward their goal. But before he can make any real progress, Bolton's players quickly close in from every direction, cornering him completely, and manage to steal the ball back with perfect timing. Seeing what is happening on the field, Mahjong thinks to himself that Rai has gotten so focused on copying his tactics that he is forgetting the basic things needed to play properly. Bolton then scores another goal, which makes Rai panic, and he hurriedly starts searching for another tactic that he once learned from Mad. He tries using his different plans one after another, but every single one fails, and Bolton keeps scoring each time, which leads to Bolton winning the match in the end. After the game, Mahjong's friend tells him that he is truly amazing, because even when facing his own old tactics, he still manages to lead the team to such a strong and overwhelming performance in just the second half. Afterward, the whole Bolton team celebrates their victory by tossing Mahjong up in the air happily, and with only one round left before the league ends, they now have a 4-point lead over the team in 21st place, which is in the relegation zone. That night at Mahjong's office, Mahjong and his friend are there together to celebrate the victory and congratulate their team for staying another season in the league. It has been so long since they have been able to drink so freely like this without worries. Hee-won even jokes that if they return to Korea now, all difficulties will disappear completely and a happy time would begin for them. Hearing this comment, Mahjong smiles and jokes that they should have sold the club and returned to Korea as originally planned. However, he realizes that he has been with Bolton for a long time now. Even though a lot of difficult things have happened during this period, he has also met good people along the way. Suddenly, a cake falls to the ground and Mahjong does not understand why Hee-won's face turns so pale suddenly. He turns his head to look at what causes the reaction. He sees the club manager standing there in the doorway. She has heard all of Mahjong's words about how he hates third division teams like Bolton. She sits down to pick up the cake from the floor, disappointed that she has made a congratulatory cake, but unexpectedly hears those hurtful words from Mahjong. Outside the door, many people are holding congratulatory banners, but everyone's faces look gloomy and upset. Seeing the situation, Mahjong starts sweating profusely with nervousness. Their eyes light up with anger and they start scolding Mahjong because they have heard his words earlier. An old man reassures everyone to calm down and stay peaceful. However, he is also very uncomfortable with Mahjong's words earlier. He jerks Mahjong's hair back roughly, ignoring his pleas for Hee-won's help, but Hee-won has disappeared from the scene. Mahjong and scolding of everyone present. Then the lights in the room go out completely and Mahjong has been hung upside down by everyone as punishment. He feels annoyed that Hee-won refuses to save him from this situation. Suddenly, there is a sound of the door opening again and Mahjong squints because the light is too bright for his eyes. He sees the footsteps of a girl entering from the door slowly. It is the manager coming back. She sits down next to Mahjong on the floor. Mahjong feels surprised by the manager's words that follow. She advises him not to hate everyone for their actions. They do that just because they are upset with him, not because they hate him deeply. If they truly hated him, they would not have hung him up like that at all. Since he came to the club, the atmosphere has completely changed for the better and people have had more hope in themselves. She also reveals that there have been many times she hates him for his behavior, but if he left the club, she would be very sad and miss him terribly. She always hopes that he and everyone will have more time together in the future. Mahjong still silently listens to her words without responding. Then suddenly, his whole body trembles unexpectedly. The manager blushes and glances at him with concern. Mahjong's face turns purple with nausea from hanging upside down. The next day, Hee-won opens the door and enters Mahjong's room. Mahjong is still angry because Hee-won has betrayed him and run away first yesterday during the incident. Ignoring that complaint, Mahjong asks Hee-won for information about Derby County, who has just been promoted recently. Derby County was sold and relegated to the lower division 2 seasons ago. However, this time, with the successful return to the higher league, the club's position also doubles in value. Hee-won suddenly realizes something strange about the conversation. He thinks Mahjong will change his mind and continue to lead the team forward. Mahjong turns around with an ambitious face and expression. He thinks he will receive £100 million if he continues to develop this team properly. Hee-won sits down on the chair near the desk. He asks Mahjong if he will really stay to help the team for another season ahead. Mahjong agrees with the question positively. He even affirms that the team's promotion, although difficult to achieve, is not impossible at all. That is Mahjong's ambition showing through clearly. Hee-won agrees with Mahjong's words completely. Hee-won smiles slightly and says they should play another season together as a team. If they win the final match and the atmosphere is good, it is not bad to play another season after that. He also advises Mahjong to be honest with himself about his feelings. After speaking these words, Hee-won says goodbye to Mahjong and leaves to prepare for training sessions. As soon as the door closes behind him, Mahjong mocks Hee-won's advice just now silently and he opens his iPad and scrolls through it casually. Then suddenly, he sees something that catches his attention. His face becomes shy and embarrassed immediately. It turns out to be the photo everyone takes when he is hung upside down yesterday. He feels helpless to see that photo has been set as the wallpaper on his device. After that, Mahjong thoughtfully ponders how he has been overly caught up in the promotion and overlooks the fact that Bolton is in dire need of money right now. He clutches his head in anguish because Wagon, the team his team has defeated, receives a sponsorship of £1 million. Gardner gets a raise upon resigning from his position, but Mahjong does not receive anything. He feigns dizziness and thinks he has considered the club too much and needs to watch video content to treat himself better. 5 hours later, still in the same office space, Mahjong is still lying down, watching his iPad screen. Suddenly, he sees something on the screen that catches his attention. It turns out to be images of content creators making content about soccer topics. Mahjong wonders if it is possible to make money this way through videos. He sees information about a content creator's channel with 400,000 subscribers, meaning the profit would be very high from that. The next day, Hee-won is walking into the office for work and his face is filled with joy because he notices Mahjong, who used to only care about money, now cares about the club members instead. However, unlike what he thinks, Mahjong is making money by being a content creator online. Not only that, but he is also urging everyone to subscribe and like his channel enthusiastically. Seeing this situation, Hee-won helplessly leaves the office. That night, Hee-won books a flight back to Korea immediately. However, after careful consideration, he decides to cancel it and stay. The next day, Mahjong is live streaming and introducing his office when there is a knock on the door. It turns out to be manager Emma arriving. She complains because she receives information that he has been wandering around all day with a camera everywhere. The image of her being caught in Mahjong's frame makes her blush with embarrassment. She angrily snatches the phone back from him. The live broadcast ends with 19,598 views total and Mahjong receives a big bump on his forehead from Emma. Emma asks if he is promoting Bolton through broadcasting, attracting sponsors, and communicating with fans online. Mahjong does not deny this accusation at all. Emma says she understands what he wants to do, but if he does not inform them in advance, it will cause trouble for everyone. Another employee suggests moderating the broadcast and that Mahjong should not broadcast until then. They advise him to maintain his image and prepare a script before broadcasting content. Having no other choice, Mahjong has to agree with everyone present. However, when a female employee looks at the amount of support money from his broadcast, she feels very surprised because the amount of support money is too much. Mahjong argues that if the idea is changed, the amount of support money will not be the same. He adds that if he consistently makes profits from online content, there will be bonuses for the managers, which startles everyone. This announcement shocks everyone, from the male employee who had only suggested changing the idea to the other staff members, and even the girl who had been filming and mocking him all along. They all have to widen their eyes in surprise at what Mahjong has just declared. The male employee stammers nervously, quickly admitting that he completely agrees with Mahjong's broadcast plan, which leaves Emma feeling more than a little astonished. Then, when the girl realizes that bonuses will be given, she suddenly stops teasing and mocking him and instead starts acting flattering and pitying toward Mahjong. Manager Emma watches all of this unfolds, feeling completely helpless as she sees how quickly everyone around her has changed their attitude. Emma startles and quickly turns to look directly at Mahjong, who meets her gaze with a smug smile, clearly enjoying the way he is provoking her, making it obvious that the idea of changing the plan is no longer an option. The more she listens to his confident words and sees how everyone else is supporting him so enthusiastically, the more her annoyance grows, building up inside her. She is about to stand and argue against him when someone else raises a hand to speak, drawing everyone's attention. It is an older employee who wants to share his thoughts, and he begins to speak about the main topic of today's meeting, which is how the club can improve its ranking in the upcoming season. Hearing him bring this up leaves everyone in the room completely shocked and silent for a moment. Emma responds calmly, explaining that it is natural for a club to aim for promotion, but she warns that setting goals that go beyond the team's actual capabilities can have a negative effect on morale, potentially causing more harm than good. To solve this problem, more players will definitely be needed, but the club's financial funds are severely lacking right now. The man also says that the team's lack of strength also needs to be considered carefully because they are using a strategy that requires the continuous use of key opponents in one half and will encounter difficulties in the second half. He mentions that this season, with aiming for the middle rank as the goal, they should stabilize the team first. Mahjong also agrees with this assessment completely. He knows the team is facing financial difficulties and the profit from online content is not enough money. However, he says that he does not mention promoting the ranking in a half-hearted manner. He confidently asserts that there is another thing which is the key point of promotion. The next day, at the home stadium of Manchester Blue Moon, a phone suddenly rings inside the office building. Francis Carson, the operations manager for Blue Moon, picks it up to answer, listening carefully to the voice on the other end. The caller wants to rent players for the Bolton team, which immediately catches Carson's attention. Meanwhile, at Bolton University Stadium, inside Mahjong's office, something important is happening at the same time. The person on the phone with Carson is none other than Mahjong himself, trying to arrange the rental of players, but Manchester Blue Moon refuses his request, not agreeing to lend any of their players. After all, Manchester Blue Moon is such a huge club that even people who normally don't follow football have at least heard of them, so it makes sense that a team like that would never consider renting players to a relatively unknown, third-rate club like Bolton. However, Mahjong still looks complacent about the situation and he says that it is only part of his plan for the future. He-One does not understand what plan Mahjong is referring to at all. Mahjong explains that if they could rent players from Blue Moon, they could solve both the financial problem and the problem of lacking players. To do that, they have to prove to Blue Moon that borrowing players is beneficial for them. He-One is sweating at Mahjong's words as he seems to be planning something big. The next day, inside the tall, high-rise building, someone calls for Francis, and a long-haired man rushes in, quickly handing the phone over to Carson so he can see. On the screen, a live broadcast from a radio station is playing, and Carson freezes in surprise when he hears the voice of the person who had called him the day before. It is the coach of Bolton, speaking directly into the microphone as he sits and gives a statement to reporters, answering their questions about the situation between Blue Moon and Manchester United. While speaking, he doesn't hold back, criticizing the Manchester United team for not being as strong as they once were and accusing them of being extremely disrespectful toward Blue Moon. As Mahjong continues to speak, praising Blue Moon repeatedly, the reporter listens carefully, starts to realize that Mahjong has a hidden purpose behind his words, even though on the surface it seems like he is simply complimenting the club. Mahjong then replies that he wants to cooperate with Blue Moon. This surprises the reporter as well. The reporter says that the Bolton team almost does not even reach the EFL 1 level, so how can they ask for support? Mahjong says that his team is also a bit weak, ranking average, or even low, so his team can support them. Currently, in EFL 1 alone, there are 15 teams that are considered stronger than Bolton, which means that there will be many opportunities to play against stronger opponents. Bolton's first team is still quite limited, so it is easy to be selected to play. Other than Bolton, there is no other place more suitable to gain experience and hone skills. Mahjong also affirms that players with potential but not enough physical ability to compete with adults and those who have been constantly failing in the youth club since being signed need opportunities. He promises to bring them up to a sufficient level to compete at least for EFL or even higher. Carson listens attentively and thinks deeply. He thinks that with Mahjong's achievements at Bolton in just half a season, his words are not meaningless. Then he suddenly asks if the Blue Moon coach knows about this yet. At the same time, at the high-rise stadium in the coach's office, the Blue Moon coach is also sitting and listening. He listens silently and attentively. The reporter continues to ask Mahjong why he chooses Blue Moon. The reporter says that the reserve team of Manchester United is also good, but why does he still choose Blue Moon? Mahjong says that because he wants to learn a few lessons. He tries to propose a friendly match but they refuse. Although Man U does not perform well last season, why should he hire players from their team if they are still defeated by a third-rate team? Hearing that, the reporter gasps in surprise. Carson and the person standing next to him are also surprised. Even the coach of Blue Moon has to open his mouth in surprise. Outside the glass door of the recording studio, Hee-won is crying and pressing his face against the glass. Afterwards, when they get into the car, Hee-won can't hold back his frustration and curses Mae-jong, completely baffled at how he could say such provocative things in the first place. Hee-won's anger boils over, and in his worry, he grabs Mae-jong by the collar, desperate to make him understand the seriousness of the situation. He's terrified about how the fans of Manchester United might react after hearing Mae-jong's bold and confrontational words. Meanwhile, at the office in the high-rise building, Carson picks up the phone and calls the coach of Blue Moon, wanting to get more details about the incident that just aired on the radio program. As he listens, the coach makes a decision that completely surprises Carson, leaving him both shocked and intrigued by what comes next. The next day at Mae-jong's office in the building, Emma walks into the room and feels stunned by Mae-jong's strange makeup on his face. Hee-won says that there is a crowd chasing Mae-jong, so he cannot go out in his normal appearance. Mae-jong still looks unafraid because he thinks everything is going according to his plan. At the same time, at the office of the senior coach of Manchester United, the senior coach of Manchester United, Marco Pantak, is knocking on the door. Coach Ulrich Nahag is sitting and writing something at his desk. Marco wants to ask him about the upcoming friendly match with Bolton. He thinks there should be a joint training session and discussion about tactics. Coach suddenly stops writing. He asks Marco if he has also seen that radio broadcast recently. He also scorns that Coach Mae-jong uses all kinds of provocative tricks and does everything to attract the public and Blue Moon, no different from a parasite trying to survive. The reason he still agrees to the friendly match is not because he believes in those ridiculous tricks, but he just wants to get rid of those who cling to him. He stands up and points his finger at Marco's face. He says that for Bolton, playing with a strong team is just a way to make money, nothing more. He asks Marco to prepare for the next season quickly and not think about this ridiculous match anymore. Then he opens the door and goes out, then gently closes the door. He thinks that the coach says Bolton is a parasite. He understands the coach's intention, but there is something he can be sure of in the previous season with what Bolton has shown. They are never at the level of a parasite. At the same time, Mae-jong is sitting and drinking water in a waiting room. Even now, he still does not believe Blue Moon actually offers to meet first. He also thinks of Pep Guardiola, the manager of Blue Moon, who achieves the treble in the previous season, whom he greatly admires. He feels extremely excited about meeting his idol soon. Taking advantage of the moment, he reaches into the back of his waistband and pulls out a paper for signing, making sure it's ready for when the meeting begins. He slaps himself lightly on the face, reminding himself that he didn't come here to waste time or play around. Bolton's entire future depends on what happens in this meeting. He tells himself not to flinch, even when he hears footsteps approaching, and he straightens up, trying to look serious and tough to show the strength and authority of a team owner. Soon, a tall man walks toward him, and Mae-jong instantly recognizes him as the manager of Blue Moon, Pep Guardiola. The Blue Moon coach feels stunned because Mae-jong is different from what he was in the radio broadcast last time. His laughter and silly questions make him feel uncomfortable. Seeing this, the coach immediately asks Mae-jong if he has any specific questions for him, expecting a serious conversation. But instead of asking anything relevant, Mae-jong continues spouting random nonsense, which quickly irritates the coach. He feels his patience slipping and grips the glass of water in front of him so tightly that his knuckles turn white. He knows he's taking the time to meet properly, yet Mae-jong wastes it with meaningless questions, and finally, he slams the glass down on the table and announces that today's meeting is over. He tells Mae-jong bluntly that cooperating with Bolton isn't worth discussing at all. Hearing this, Mae-jong freezes for a moment, realizing the weight of the situation as the coach begins to leave. At that exact moment, Mae-jong suddenly understands just how much nonsense he's been saying all along and feels regret for wasting the opportunity. How long do you think it will take for Mae-jong to lead Bolton Wanderers to promotion? Comment, Wanderers, if you'd like part 2 of the series. As usual, thank you for tuning in and we'll catch you in the next one.